Hey guys, welcome to Saiyan Saga. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Goku was forced into a deadly battle league? Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in Dragon Ball fanfictions. This story is by Jynweythek. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. It was hard to believe summer was almost over. It had gone by so fast. Sizzling summer heat was slowly transforming into autumnal coolness, and fall colors were beginning to appear amongst the foliage. The colors outside went from green summer vibrancy to clear glow accented by leaves on foliage turning maroon and gold. As this seemingly ordinary day in this transitional period from summer to fall reached afternoon, a young woman seemingly materialized out of nowhere. She began to step foot onto the grounds of the world-renowned Capsule Corporation, a strange device in her right hand. "Looks nicer in person," she remarked coyly, brushing her brown hair to the side and pulling her black mesh jacket up before she made her way to the front entrance. As the mysterious woman walked through the doors, a receptionist with black hair clad in a maroon blazer across the room was quick to address the new guest. "Welcome to Capsule Corporation." The receptionist greeted her cheerfully. "How may I help you?" The woman placed her device on the reception desk before answering. "Good afternoon, I'd like to speak with Mrs. Brief's husband. Is he available?" The receptionist was taken aback by this request. This was probably the first time in her history of employment that anyone had asked about her employer's husband, let alone known that he even existed. She had encountered him several times herself, but never really interacted with him. "I'll see if I can reach him," the receptionist answered, dialing an extension to contact him. Bulma's elusive husband did have an extension number, and this had to be the first time anyone had used it. "I can't guarantee he'll answer though, he always seems quite busy. May I ask what your business with Mrs. Brief's husband is?" The woman smiled. "I am only here to give him an opportunity that I doubt he will pass up," she answered. There was an odd monotone delivered to her voice. "I hear he's a competitive fighter, just what my organization is looking for." The receptionist had no success in getting an answer from Vegeta's extension and tried one more time. The second attempt was also met with silence. "It looks as though he is unavailable," the receptionist said. "If he wasn't going to answer now, he was never going to answer. Would you like me to leave him a message?" "No need to apologize," the woman began, her voice still emotionless. "Instead, would it be possible to leave this with him? This has all the information he will need." She pushed the device up on the reception desk so that the administrator could see what it was. A dark gray digital tablet the size of a book with a blank screen. On the other side was a strange insignia which looked like the letter A. "Of course, I'll send it his way," the receptionist said as she examined the device and tried to make out the insignia. After staring at it for a moment, she made out a name under the large A. "Is there anything else you need?" "All I need is for Vegeta to receive the message my superior sent him," the woman answered cheerfully. "On behalf of the Ampheta organization, I thank you. Have a nice day." As the receptionist processed the tablet, confused on how this guest even knew the name of Mrs. Brief's husband, the woman began to head back outside. Once she was out of earshot of any Capsule Corporation employee, she pulled out a similar piece of equipment to the device she had just dropped off. This one was much smaller and compact, which fit in her jacket much easier. She held the object out and selected a name in her list of contacts, her superior. "Hello Mr. Snow," she started. "It's Uma. One Saiyan has received the invite. I'm en route to the next one. I can't wait to see them fighting for us. Can you believe it? The last two living Saiyans, fighting for us. Only a matter of time now before it actually happens." Far away from West City, one may assume that the tranquil green wastelands of Mount Pazu would be less lively than the bustling city. On most days, that assumption would be correct, but not on this day. An orange blur shot into one of the trees in the wasteland, startling the various woodland animals from the unnatural movement as the tree cracked in two. The orange blur turned out to be a man. A short man with a bald head so polished it seemed downright glossy. The man was slow to get up, rubbing his freshly shaved head. "Geez Godin," the man cried out nasally with a wince on his face as he got up. "We're sparring. You didn't have to kick me that hard." A boy in an orange GI with matching orange pants and a long-sleeved navy blue shirt underneath the GI soon hovered over to the tree, which now collapsed from the force of impact. "I'm sorry Mr. Krillin," the boy said. "I didn't mean to kick you that hard." The short man got up, brushing dust off his GI, which was similar to the boy's, orange with a navy blue undershirt. "It's fine, you just gotta go easy on me. I'm not getting any younger." Another boy flew up to the two, this one with pink hair and also clad in a GI, although his was dark green and had an orange belt. "Do y'all think it would have hurt less if you weren't bald?" this boy asked, teasing. "Maybe your hair would have cushioned the fall." "Oh, you're so funny, Trunks." Krillin rolled his eyes. "For your information, my wife happens to like my head shaved. You'll understand someday once you're married." "Fat chance." Trunks fired back. "I'll never let a girl tell me what to do." Before Krillin had a chance to roll his eyes again at the boy, an unfamiliar voice interrupted. "Excuse me." The female voice began. "Do any of you know where I can find someone named Goku?" "Huh?" Krillin was genuinely surprised. He thought that himself and the two boys were the only people in the wasteland. Just seconds ago, that seemed to be the case. A woman in a black jacket was standing next to the damaged tree, seemingly appeared out of nowhere. "Who are you?" Goten asked, ever curious. "My name's Uma, I'm just a courier," the woman answered with a shrug, her gaze not leaving Goten. The resemblance was undeniable. The spiky black hair was almost identical to who she was looking for. "You must be related to Goku. You're his son, I assume." Yeah," Goten answered nervously. Something about this lady seemed off. The woman smiled and walked over to the cautious boy. She produced a black square object from her jacket and handed it to him. "Can you give this to your dad for me?" she asked him as he looked at the item curiously. "I guess, sure," the boy said, still looking at the tablet. The woman smiled again and patted the boy's black hair. "Thank you. That's all I need. I can tell you're a good boy." Goten stammered. "Thanks, I guess. Is that for games or something?" Trunks asked as he came over to look at the object in his friend's hands. "Haha. No," Uma answered. "Don't be silly." Feeling an awkward silence form, Uma saw this as a cue to leave. Her simple mission was accomplished. "I don't want to distract you three from whatever it is you're all doing. I'll be on my way," the woman said, almost sounding cheerful as she turned around. "Have a great day." Krillin looked over to the tablet in Goten's hands. Something about this feels off, he thought. Who was she? The bald martial arts expert turned back to look for the woman, but she had vanished. Yeah, something weird is going on, Krillin thought as he looked back at the mysterious device. "Goten." Krillin finally spoke as the boy looked up. "We better get this to your dad and figure out what this thing is, and what's going on. I wonder where they all went." Goku said to no one in particular as he looked out into the woods. The sun was starting to set earlier and earlier every day, and as the clock began to approach 7 p.m. the sky was starting to become a mix of orange light on one end and darker blues on the other end. "More importantly, I just hope Krillin's not hurt. He got kicked pretty hard." A voice answered him. A young man in a purple GI with a red belt approached Goku from the woods. "That Goten doesn't know his own strength sometimes, runs in the family I guess, huh? I'm about ready to wrap things up anyway, I'm starving," Goku replied as he turned back to his son Gohan. "Never heard that one before," Gohan said with a smile as his father smiled back. Ever since the defeat of Majin Buu, it seemed the struggle and ultimate triumph against the demon had brought all of the fighters who played a role in his demise much close. Before, they all were set in their isolated ways of training, families only training with their families for the most part. But having suffered through tragedy seemed to only bring the group closer together, and now training sessions were all shared. High-powered Saiyans like Goku and Vegeta rotated training with each other to training with their sons with training. They would even welcome those who were a few steps behind them, to put it lightly, in terms of strength, like their friends Krillin and Piccolo. What those two may not have in strength compared to their Saiyan counterparts, they made up for in knowledge of fighting to pass on to the younger fighters. Occasionally even semi-retired veterans like Master Roshi and Tien Shinhan would drop in for sparring or just giving their perspective on combat. Soon father and son picked up on the energy of three beings traveling towards them. They instantly recognized it was Goten, Trunks and Krillin. Shortly after sensing them, the three landed in front of Goku and Gohan. "Dad!" Goten cried out as he ran up to his father. "Some weird lady asked me to give this you." The young boy handed his father a strange tablet. Goku examined it, a puzzled expression on his face. "Huh? What is it? Who gave this to you?" Goten? Gohan asked as he looked over to the object his father was holding. I don't know, Goten answered. She just told me to give this to you. Something about this is off, Goku. Krillin chimed in. 1 minute she was talking to us, then she just disappeared. Goku held the tablet closer to his eyes, trying to make sense of everything. Ever curious like his sons, he began to press various buttons on the device before a blue light shot out, startling him. He dropped the tablet to the floor as a video began to play on the tablet. A scrawny humanoid man in a dark gray jumpsuit appeared on the screen. The man's skin was a pale orange and his curly hair dark brown, looking unkempt. He was standing in front of tournament grounds. Very similar to those of the Budokai tournament, but this ring seemed more futuristic, not to mention it was round instead of square. A pleasure to send this invite, Goku. My name is Mr. Snow of the galactically well-known and affluent Snow family, owners of the famous Ampheta organization. The man began, his voice shrill and nasal. For years I have followed your journey and have heard tales of your battles. For my whole life I have wanted to witness a Saiyan do battle, and I would like to extend an offer for you to fight for me exclusively in my touring Ampheta tournament of elite fighters. Please respond accordingly. I will pay you handsomely to work for me. I look forward to working with you. Thank you. The message cut off and Goku scratched his head. He was somehow more confused now. Tournament of elites? How come I never heard of them if they're so good? I don't think you should respond, Dad. Gohan cut in. Whoever is running this thing isn't giving us enough information. This could be trouble. Krillin nodded. I dunno. Goku said as he picked up the tablet again and looked the Amphet emblem on the back of it. Maybe they'll have some strong fighters. I'm always up for the challenge. Are you going to go, Dad? Goten asked. Before Goku could answer, he heard a voice in the distance. Goku. Boys. Dinner's ready. It was his wife Chi-Chi. Instantly, Goku's priorities changed, and at the moment he could not care less about the strange invitation. I don't know yet. I guess I'll make this Mr. Snow wait. I can't think on an empty stomach. The group began to head back to Goku's home for dinner as the sun had fully set outside and crickets started to sing. Several days had passed and a new day had arrived, meaning Goku had rotated training partners. The man he was training with on this day was one who pushed him more than any else he sparred with. That was to be expected when this partner was also a pure-blooded Saiyan just like Goku. Goku looked to his right and then his left as he hovered high above the wastelands on another clear, early autumn day. There was no doubt that Goku and his training partner for the day were disturbing the grassy expanse more than any other training pair. Where could he be? He's so dang fast, Goku thought as he tensed up, awaiting the next move of his training opponent. He did not have to wait long. Within fractions of seconds, he sensed his partner finally making his presence known in the form of an attempted kick to Goku's side in a flash of white and dark blue. Goku instinctively raised up his right forearm, blocking the attack. I was wondering where Ya went, Vegeta. Goku said with a smirk as Vegeta delivered a kick with his left leg which Goku also blocked. The Saiyan Prince did not deliver a retort. Instead he cried out and delivered more rapid kicks which Goku continued to block with his forearms. Vegeta continued to be the aggressor, speeding up his kicks forcing Goku to fly back all while blocking each kick. Goku hovered down above a river in the wasteland as Vegeta continued his intensifying attacks. Goku began to sink into the river and the speed the two fighters were traveling at began to split the water, exposing the underbed as fish flopped through the wall of water onto the sand. Planting his feet in the soggy sand, Goku grabbed Vegeta's ankle on the final kick and hovered up, tossing the prince a distance away. Goku hovered back down to the shore of the river. Aw man. Why'd I have to see all those fish? Now I'm hungry again, Goku thought as he looked over to the river. Vegeta. Goku yelled out and shortly heard an annoyed grunt. What? Goku heard a gruff voice reply. I can't focus, I'm too hungry, Goku added, hearing his stomach growl. Let me have some fish and then we can get back to work. Fine. The Saiyan Prince sharply responded as he started to drift down to ground level, but make it fast. Vegeta walked over to Goku who already had a large fish on a stick roasting on a fire he set with a ki blast. Vegeta's priorities started to shift in his mind. I'm a bit famished myself, Vegeta muttered as he sat on a fallen log by the river. Can I ask you for some advice? Goku said as he tilted the fish to get the other side cooked evenly. HMPH. Vegeta scoffed. I don't know what good it will do giving a fool like you any advice, but sure. What is it? Goku grinned. Always up for some verbal jabs, that Vegeta. Something weird happened a few days ago. I got this computer thingy inviting me to a tournament in space. Really now? Vegeta interrupted before Goku could finish. Was it called something stupid like the Tournament of Elites? Yeah. Goku answered as he moved his fish away from the fire to let it cool down. How did ya know? Because I got the same invitation. Vegeta said, looking out at the forest around them. I threw that damned thing in the trash. What a waste of time. Why do you say that? Goku asked. They could have some strong fighters competing in it. TCH. Vegeta shook his head. It's a distraction, Kakarot. We shouldn't bother and give them our time. We should use what time we have to push ourselves to our limits and share our knowledge with our sons. We are on a level of power that these lesser fighters can only dream of. That's a good point, Goku said between bites of his fish. I've been around the galaxy more than you have. I know what an illegitimate operation is, and this so-called Tournament of Elites is one of many joke tournaments in the universe. I can just tell. They only want us to join for the spectacle of having the last living Saiyans fighting for them and use that for their own benefit. In reality, we would destroy the competition. You know. Goku started. I would like to see what fighters they have in their tournament. Maybe they could be really strong after all and could give us a challenge.
Ha, I doubt that, Vegeta snarked. If they're on our level and want us to fight for them so badly, the proprietor of the tournament can come and invite us personally. Perhaps he can put in more effort to convince us besides some worthless invite.
Yeah. On the other hand, I don't really want to leave the Earth either. Goku mused. It's so peaceful, at least right now. I'd rather not leave unless I knew for sure there really are stronger fighters out there, and if you say these people aren't worth our time then I trust you. Oh, don't worry, they're certainly not worth our time. I will assure you of that, Vegeta said, a small smile forming. Hey, I'm hungry too, give me the other half of that. Goku smiled back and threw the other half of the fish over to Vegeta, who spared no time in beginning to devour it. So that's why you haven't responded, huh? A third voice said, catching Goku and Vegeta off guard. They suddenly sensed a low-key level and looked behind them to see an orange-skinned humanoid in a black suit with teal and gold trim. You need convincing? By the time I leave you will both be thoroughly convinced. I can promise that. The spindly man said confidently. And you wanted a personal invite? Well, here it is. My name is Anton Snow. You can call me Mr. Snow.
Ha, I didn't think you would actually be desperate enough to show up like this. Vegeta scoffed. He recognized this was the same strange man who had appeared in the invitation he had received. He felt uneasy that this man suddenly materialized so soon after directly mentioning him. Are you that needy for fighters in your tournament? Ah, Vegeta, you are just as feisty as I was told you'd be. Mr. Snow said, his eyes wide and his grin not leaving his face. His response confused Vegeta. He did not know whether to feel disgusted or violated in how this stranger claimed to know about his personality.
Goku blinked, still processing the strange situation. How did you find us?
Mr. Snow turned to Goku. My family owns the Ampheta organization. We are famous across the universe for harnessing black holes, you know, wormholes. We have harnessed their powers into portal technology, and I am able to appear anywhere I want. We have made trillions with our portals, he explained before pointing to a circular dark gray device on the ground. There's the portal I used to get here right over there. Pretty neat, huh?
Very impressive. Vegeta sarcastically responded. Why don't you jump back in that thing? Get lost. Hold on, Vegeta. The more diplomatic Goku started. He made the trouble of coming out here. Let's give him a chance and hear him out. Snow excitedly let out a joyous squeal, causing Vegeta to visibly cringe. But Snow was unfazed. He was thrilled to meet the two Saiyans. HMPH. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked away. No one could change his mind. This was a waste of time. Thanks, Goku. Mr. Snow exclaimed. I knew you were very nice. How do you know so much about us? Goku asked. I am a huge fan of combat. Both of you are legendary across the galaxy. I have used my family's wealth to acquire any information of your battles or interview witnesses who have seen your immense power. I guess you could say that I'm a fan of the both of you. A huge fan. What a nerd. Vegeta thought to himself, growing more annoyed. The Saiyan race is so rare in the universe. The two of you are the only living Saiyans left. Think about that. That's crazy. Trillions of living creatures in the galaxy and you are the last two of your race. You are pretty much mythical. Mythical? Goku repeated, scratching his head. I thought that word meant made up, and we're both real. Vegeta buried his head in his white gloves. It's an expression, you idiot. Snow began to chuckle. This is just great, you guys. This is just great. You are both like how my witnesses described. I must have you fight in my tournaments. Let me give you more details.
Sure, go on, Goku replied cheerfully as Vegeta groaned loudly. First of all, I will pay you both big time. I'm talking billions to sign with me and fight for me exclusively. We travel across the galaxy and fight on different planets. It would be so great if you toured with me. You would face my 5 strongest fighters on different dates and sell out arenas everywhere.
Huh. Goku thought out loud. I don't really care about the money, but tell me about your fighters. Yes, I have 5 of the strongest fighters in the galaxy under contract to my company and they don't even use ki. Our fights are about speed and technical skill. The foundation of martial arts. Vegeta began to loudly laugh. That confirms it, Kakarot. This geek is a joke and so is his company, no ki? What challenge will that pose for us? Snow's smile finally started to fade, and he looked down, an expression of defeat forming. Well, I thought you could just enjoy the money and not use your ki, he said, sheepishly. You'd really be helping my fighters and my brand. You would give us exposure with your name value, and you'd be making a lot of money doing it. Not use our ki. This is ridiculous. We would get more fight out of our own sons when they were toddlers than any of your scrub fighters. Vegeta laughed. Get lost, punk, you've wasted enough of our time.
Goku pressed his thumb to his chin. You know, Vegeta's right, this sounds too easy. Sorry, but we're not interested. We need a challenge.
Snow began to stutter, still staring at the ground. I will up the starting pay. How does 5 billion each sound? Please, I need you both to join. I am prepared to beg if I have to. No thanks. We're way past that level of fighting. Goku responded. Maybe our sons could fight instead. This might be a good learning experience for them, fighting in space.
Don't be foolish, Kakarot, Vegeta chortled. Our boys would vanquish his so-called elite fighters in front of the entire galaxy. No spectator would ever take this organization seriously again, although I don't think anyone takes them seriously to begin with.
Snow's demeanor changed. No longer cheerful, a blank expression on his face. His eyes were still wide. It seemed as though this man never blinked. I will keep upping the price until you both agree to join me, he said solemnly. You would both be fools to turn down this much money and stay here. Goku's demeanor shifted. This guy did not want to take no for an answer, but that was too bad. We said we're not interested. Goku said sternly. He was met with silence from Snow. We're not going to leave our families and friends behind to fight with your guys. Goku continued, trying to be diplomatic again. We're not leaving unless we can really be challenged and pushed to our limits. If your guys aren't using ki, then they aren't going to be a challenge for us. Sorry, but it is what it is. You guys are really that stupid, huh? Snow said, irritation rising in his voice. Goku noticed tears starting to well in his eyes. You really want to turn down all that wealth to stay here and play with each other outside by the river? Yeah. We push each other when we train. Goku answered. You can't buy the kind of connection me and Vegeta have. Real fighters don't use ki. Snow snapped as Vegeta burst out laughing and even Goku started snickering. Real fighters use technical skill without power-ups. Get out of here, Vegeta commanded. You've been annoying me the entire time you've been here and now you're just overstaying your welcome. One way or another, I'm going to get real Saiyans fighting for me, and my own hybrid Saiyans too. Snow spat out. How unfortunate it has to come to this. What are you saying? Goku asked, perplexed by what he was hearing. Sign my contract and I'll tell you, Snow chided. Stop asking, we're not signing with your stupid tournament, you weakling, Vegeta shot back. We're not interested, Goku added. Even he was getting annoyed now. How many times do I have to tell you that? Tears began to run down Snow's face as his lips trembled. He dropped down to the grass and started to thrash around as tears streamed down his face and he let out shrill cries. Goku and Vegeta looked on bewildered. This grown man was throwing a temper tantrum in front of them. "Let's train elsewhere, this is pathetic," Vegeta said to Goku before quickly flying off, not wanting to witness this embarrassing display any longer. Goku shook his head and was not far behind the Saiyan Prince. Snow saw them leave out of the corner of his eye and sat up. "You both are going to fight in my tournament," he screamed. "Whether you want to or not, soon you're not going to have a reason to stay on this stupid planet. I'm gonna take it away."
Goku and Vegeta could hear parts of his threats, but chose to ignore them, speeding up in their flight. The two men were both equally uncomfortable with the direction this bizarre meeting had taken.
Several days had passed since Goku and Vegeta's unusual encounter with the eccentric and seemingly unstable heir to the Ampheta organization Fortune. Both men had tried to forget about the incident. They wanted to put any thoughts of this tournament of elites behind them. The two men resumed training with each other and other friends. Routines had been reformed. However, on this day, they were presented with a challenge that neither of the two Saiyan warriors were prepared for or had any desire to take part in: a trip to the mall with their wives and sons. Northwest of the city, a new shopping district had recently finished construction on the waterfront and was now open to the public. Department stores and restaurants took up much of the space, and the crown jewel of the city's new district was a brand new mall that had just opened right next to the seaside. And naturally, Bulma deemed this new mall a perfect location for back-to-school shopping, so she extended an invitation for Chi-Chi and Goten to join her and Trunks. Goku could not remember how he got roped into tagging along. His curiosity in a new place most likely had something to do with it, even if it was not something he would normally be interested in. Even more surprising, Vegeta was with the group, much to the women's delight. This outing was truly a family affair and an opportunity to get new clothes and accessories for the men. Earlier it would have been impossible to see the Saiyan Prince out shopping with his family, but over the last few months, Vegeta had been willing to make concessions for Bulma. Mostly out of a desire to be a better husband and spend time with his family, time he took for granted previously. But he had to admit, he also partially felt guilt over his relapse into evil at the beginning of the debacle with Majin Buu. He genuinely did enjoy being around his family, as difficult as it was for him to tell them that. He decided his presence would create good memories to replace the painful ones, or at least make them faint recollections overshadowed by new memories. All of this was just another part of Vegeta's atonement.
With Chi-Chi at his side, Goku peered out the window of the Capsule Corp airship as they entered the ship parking garage of the mall. Crowds of people could be seen entering and departing the mall. It seemed the two families were not the only people interested in visiting the new mall. Goku played with the collar of his beige jacket as he kept watching people on the ground. Even though he was a grown man, he retained the same childlike fascination of visiting new places.
"Isn't this exciting?" Bulma asked the group as she found a parking spot for the ship. She tilted her neon green sunglasses up, resting them above her forehead as she began to reminisce. "I remember when they broke ground building this mall, and now it's already finished. I can't wait to see what stores they have." Vegeta tried with all his might not to say something disparaging of the mall. Love requires compromise. If Bulma is willing to put up with his constant training among other things, he could handle a couple of hours, hopefully, shopping without complaining. He loved Bulma deeply and was willing to compromise with her just as she was with him. It was not long before the group headed into the first stop at the mall, a department store next to the parking garage. The boys had already wandered off to look at toys and video games and whatever else was on the first floor, while the men stayed with the women looking at the clothing department. Only minutes in and disinterest was starting to set in for some members of the group. "I'm bored already," Goku blurted out, a thought he probably should have kept to himself as it earned glares from both Chi-Chi and Bulma. "Goku, we've only been here for 10 minutes and you're already whining?" Chi-Chi asked. "We haven't even asked either of you to try anything on yet," Bulma added as Vegeta cringed, remaining silent. "All we're doing is standing here." Goku tried to plead his case. "I gotta move around. I thought we were gonna be exploring this place." "You want to move around?" Chi-Chi spat out while digging in her purse and pulled out some bills. "Fine. Go down to the food court, since I'm sure that Saiyan brain of yours is already thinking of food." Goku took the money from her and stared at it dumbfounded. That was easier than expected. He did not think one complaint would free him. Vegeta looked over with some envy before Bulma turned to him. Here, she snapped, putting bills of her own in the front shirt pocket Vegeta's white shirt. I know you're thinking the same thing he is, so you go with him. We don't need you men slowing us down anyway. HMPH. I didn't think it was possible for you to go any slower. Vegeta scoffed before realizing he actually said that out loud. He felt no need to hold back his true thoughts now that he was also freed from shopping. Just go. Both women yelled at their husbands in unison as they sped out of the department store. As the two men departed, a brown-haired woman watched them both exit before turning her attention back to Bulma and Chi-Chi. I owe you for that, Kakarot, Vegeta said once they were well out of earshot from the women in the food court of the mall. They had not decided exactly what to eat just yet. Goku looked over to him, puzzled. Huh? What for? For getting us out of that dreadful place. Vegeta answered. I would have never considered letting out a mindless complaint as you did. But had you not said anything, we would still be in there, forced to try on all sorts of hideous items of clothing. Vegeta's backhanded compliment still made Goku smile. Well gee, Vegeta. You're welcome. The Saiyan Prince smiled a fraction back at Goku before looking back at the restaurants in the crowded food court. I don't know if I even want to eat the slop that they're serving here, he grumbled as he tried to find a restaurant that wasn't fast food or anything dessert-focused. I wish Chi-Chi could make us lunch here. Goku imagined, staring off into the ocean outside the giant glass windows outside the food court. I'd take her cooking over the food here any day. Vegeta also began to gaze outside the window at the ocean. He began to visualize flying over the water and how pleasant the cold breeze off the water would feel. It would certainly be preferable to being stuck in the crowded mall debating which unhealthy meal to buy. Suddenly a thought crossed Goku's mind, and he wasted no time getting his thought out. Hey Vegeta, you know I bet if we got far enough out there, we could get some sparring in. A grin spread across Vegeta's face. Are you a mind reader now, Kakarot? I had the same thought. That would certainly pass the time, wouldn't it? Yeah. Goku exclaimed. By the time we got done, Chi-Chi and Bulma would be done shopping. Excitement fueled by Saiyan instinct to fight began to grow in Vegeta. Wishful thinking on the last part. Those women will be in that filthy shopping mall all day. So, what are we waiting for? Goku nodded, still beaming as the two men exited the food court and stood on the walkway between the water and the mall. Two things we must keep in mind. Vegeta started. We can't have our clothing damaged or touch the water. The women will suspect we were up to something. Right, don't want to burn our clothes so no ki attacks, Goku added. Because real fighters don't use ki attacks in battle. Vegeta responded smugly, recalling Mr. Snow's claims. What a joke. Goku was legitimately confused. Now Goku was annoying Vegeta. That's what that idiot said, remember? That nerd who tried to get us to fight for him. Oh yeah. Goku said, remembering the bizarre encounter. That guy sure was weird. He was a moron who wasted our time. Vegeta sneered. The thought of that scrawny little bastard is making my blood boil. Let's get on with this already. And with that, Vegeta shot off into the clear sky far into the ocean. Goku flew off not far behind him as they headed out far enough to begin their impromptu sparring session. The brown-haired woman watched as Bulma and Chi-Chi moved on from the department store down a nearby escalator to the concourse of the mall with several small bags in hand between the two of them. She pulled out her phone as she followed behind them trying to remain unnoticed. Sir, it's Uma. Good news, it appears the Saiyans have gone elsewhere. That gives us plenty of time to acquire all four of our targets. She began. The main targets, the brats, haven't left yet the store but the women are heading towards the gateway we set up. Do you want me to get them first? Sure. A nasally voice responded over the phone. What do their women look like anyway? Get me a visual on them. By this point Bulma and Chi-Chi were looking at kiosk of sunglasses, trying them on and having some laughs. They were both preoccupied to notice anyone around them. Uma snapped a few pictures of the unsuspecting women. There was an awkward moment of silence followed by heavy breathing on the other end. Wow. They look a lot hotter than I thought. I didn't think they both looked so alluring up close. Both of them are very attractive. Yeah, definitely get them to me first. I must see them in person. They are everything I have dreamt about since I discovered their existence. Then we'll worry about getting the sons. Understood. Uma put her device away and he continued to follow the two women. Time to get into position. It's about time these people finally left their homes. I thought we'd never get a chance to extract them. You'd think all they do is eat and fight all day. The voice on the other end lamented before ending the call. I don't remember this being on the directory, Chi-Chi said as she walked up to an unfamiliar store. There were no windows to see what was being sold inside or what exactly it was. The only indication of what the store could be was a neon green insignia resembling the letter A was on the entrance. It must be some new, hip fashion store, Bulma guessed. That has to be it. I'm up to date on trendy fashion brands and even I don't know this one. Chi-Chi rolled her eyes slightly. Her friend would always act younger than her real age suggested. May I help you ladies? A monotoned feminine voice asked, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, startling both women. A smiling woman with brown hair seemed to materialize behind them. She appeared to be an employee of the store with its A-shaped logo on her store vest. The woman introduced herself. My name's Uma and I would love to help both of your beautiful ladies with your shopping experience here. Oh, hi. Chi-Chi started, taken aback by the sudden appearance. What exactly are you selling here? I overheard your conversation and your friend is right. We are a fashion store. We are Ampheta, the A. Chi-Chi looked to the side, not impressed. Well, you could do a better job advertising that. We can't see what's inside. Haha, oh dear. Uma chuckled. You must not go in many fashion stores, do you? It's the aesthetic. The mystique. That's how we draw our customers in. See? Bulma interjected obnoxiously. You really need to follow my lead when it comes to fashion, Kai. I can show you a thing or two so you can get with the times. Chi-Chi was beginning to get irritated with Bulma's supposed fashion knowledge, but she shared her husband's curiosity with new places. Which meant she was willing to at least see what was inside. If anything, she could have a laugh at how much rich people were willing to spend on high-end fashion items. She was positive the prices would be ridiculous. All right, we'll go in. Chi-Chi conceded. Great, Uma said, still cheerful. You ladies first. Bulma pressed her thumb against her chin as she got a closer look at the sales associate. You know, you look familiar. Have you worked with Capsule Corporation? That's my family's company. I feel like I've seen you visit us, or seen you on our guest log. Maybe. Uma responded, trying to change the subject. We work with all the major corporations, so it's very possible we may have crossed paths. But let's not worry about that now. Let's get you girls inside. I have a lot to show you and a lot more for you both to try on. Pushing aside her possible familiarity with Uma, Bulma pressed on as Chi-Chi followed, less enthusiastic. The group entered the doorway of the store to be met with another set of doors. You girls go in first. Uma instructed. I take great pleasure in seeing the reactions of first-time customers to our store. Bulma pressed open the sleek black doors with Chi-Chi not far behind her. Instead of seeing the typical interior of a clothing store, the two were instead met with no racks and shelves of clothing items but instead a glowing green floor. Mr. Snow has been very excited to meet the two of you. Uma said as she stood behind Bulma and Chi-Chi, her demeanor changing to much more threatening. With that, Uma pressed both of her hands against the backs of both Bulma and Chi-Chi and shoved them forward onto the green, swirling floor. Neither of them had a chance to cry out, let alone process the situation as they fell through the green aura on the floor. Say hi to him for me, Uma said in a more sinister tone, knowing the two of them were on the other side of the gateway she had created. Goten dropped the action figure he was looking at in the toy aisle. Did you feel that? He asked Trunks. Both boys sensed the key of their mothers was gone out of nowhere. Something was wrong. Yeah, Trunks answered quickly, his concern growing. We better see what happened. Fun and games looking at toys and video games was over. The two sped out of the department store, carelessly passing other shoppers who were perplexed by the two boys sprinting at inhuman speed past them. The two jumped down from the department store on the third level of the mall and jumped down to the first level, shocking more shoppers. Uma looked over from her post at the faux fashion store and saw the two speeding towards her location. Perfect. My work is almost done, she said to herself with a devious smile, a rare display of emotion. She stood in front of the entrance and put on her customer service persona as she saw the two hybrids run up to her. May I help you boys? She asked. Have you seen our moms? Trunks asked with his own question. We sensed they were here last. Uma pressed her index finger against the side of her cheek, feigning confusion and ignoring how unusual it was to sense other people. She knew better. We haven't had any customers in a while. What do your mothers look like?
Goten anxiously began to describe his mother. Mine's tall and has black hair like me. And his mom is also tall but has blue hair.
Are you sure you haven't seen them? Trunks asked again, nervously. Well, why don't you boys come inside? Uma suggested. We can't have you two running around the mall unattended to. We'll reunite you with your moms soon. I just know it, so don't you two worry. Goten looked up at Uma as they approached the store. Have I seen you before? He asked. Uma only responded with a smile and shook her head. Goten was too worried about his mother to think about it any further.
Trunks and Goten apprehensively walked through the entrance and pushed open the black doors.
Neither of them noticed the empty shopping cart full of bags outside the entrance. Uma quickly shut them behind them and turned a dial on the wall before gripping a handle next to it. The previously green floor turned the color red and began sucking all matter into its maw, including Trunks and Goten before they even realized what was happening. Uma gripped onto the handle and winced, trying not to fly in with them, at least not yet. Once she noticed the two Saiyan hybrids were sucked inside, she turned the dial, and the red glow disappeared. Uma pulled out her phone again. The extraction here is complete, she said into the phone. The kids are headed to medical storage for energy extraction and will be sedated upon arrival. And of course, the women headed to you, Mr. Snow. I'll be joining you shortly. Don't forget to leave the final invitation, a strident voice said on the other end of the phone. Of course, Mr. Snow, Uma said, smirking as she pulled a tablet out of her vest before setting it on the ground. A shame it had to come to this, those damn stubborn Saiyans. The voice on the phone said as Uma changed the settings on the wall dial. Oh well, I am gaining a lot more than I would have if they had agreed to just fight for me in the first place. The floor became green briefly as she jumped into the portal before it closed permanently. High above the ocean waves, Goku and Vegeta were in the midst of an unscheduled sparring session. Being out in the middle of the ocean gave the two fighters plenty of room to test long-range strikes. As soon as Goku's forearm crashed into Vegeta's, who was working on his blocking, immediately a sense of dread swept over the two Saiyans. At the same time, both men sensed the key of their wives was absent. They're gone, Goku muttered as he retracted his forearm, stunned while he floated. Vegeta, they're both gone. Instead of answering, Vegeta shot back in the direction of the mall in a frantic state. As soon as he had sensed the faint key of Bulma disappearing, he instinctively felt the urge to get back to her. He felt that he was Bulma's protector, and the thought of failing to protect her sickened him. Gusts of wind blasting against his face, he tried not to fixate on the grim prospects of what could have happened to her. What's going on there? He thought to himself. Why would they both just disappear like that? Goku was not far behind him. It had been a very long time since Chi-Chi was in any sort of peril. He tried to control his breathing as he tried to catch up to Vegeta and remain calm, but it was very difficult. Goku seldom had any nightmares, but when he did, they were usually about something terrible happening to Chi-Chi or his sons. It seemed that one of those nightmares might now become a reality. Vegeta landed outside the mall parking lot and Goku was right behind him. Both men paused again, their hearts sinking. They felt the key of their sons fading now. What the hell is going on? Vegeta thought to himself. Now his son had seemed to have disappeared. Vegeta! Goku yelled as he tried to catch up. The boys are gone now. I know that. Vegeta snapped back as he ran inside the mall, his anger growing at the developing situation. Would you stop making useless observations? Tracing their wives and sons by their key signatures was useless now, but luckily for the two Saiyans, they had one trick left. Tracing them by their scents with their strong Saiyan sense of smell. Soon the two men were standing in front of the mysterious black store. Immediately, a familiar object caught Vegeta's eye outside. His wife's favorite pair of sunglasses lying on the floor, neon green trim color and all. Damn it! Vegeta yelled out, standing up with the sunglasses in hand. His voice echoed throughout the corridor while he surveyed the store, not seeing a soul around. The Saiyan prince fumed outside, trying to collect himself while Goku looked inside the store. It was dimly lit and completely vacant. No products for sale, no customers and no employees to be found. Goku did make a disturbing discovery on his way back to Vegeta. Shopping carts filled with clothing items and a high-end leather purse sitting inside the cart. He looked next to it and saw a familiar purse, the unmistakable knitted one Chi-Chi owned. One he saw every day at his home. Goku picked it up, his breathing growing more labored.
This really isn't good, he thought. Vegeta soon walked into the store and made observations of his own. He noticed a device on the ground. A sleek, black digital tablet that looked familiar.
I'm just as much of a fool as you are. Vegeta muttered to Goku, his voice stinging with bitterness before turning around to face the entrance. Training while on a family outing. I should know better than to do such a stupid thing.
Unfazed and knowing Vegeta was only saying these things out of frustration, Goku looked back down at the knitted purse in his hand. It's my fault too.
I should have just used instant transmission to get back here. I couldn't trace the girls. And I didn't think whoever did this would go after our sons too. He looked back at Vegeta. But it's pointless to beat ourselves up now, we have to find out what happened to our families, we have to save them. Vegeta picked up the black tablet and looked on the other side. He began to piece together who was the culprit behind abducting his and Goku's families. The insignia on the wall was also on the device. Well, I know who's responsible for all of this, Vegeta said as he held the device up to Goku. That weakling who visited us, Snow. This is his organization.
But what would he with our families? Goku asked. And where could he take them? This machine should provide the answer. Vegeta answered, studying the device which displayed a countdown. It won't open for 3 hours. He planted this on purpose, he's using our families as bait.
He's gone too far. The gravity of the situation hit Goku hard as he began to clench his fists. Do what you want to us but leave our families alone. He's a coward, and make no mistake, he will pay dearly for this, Vegeta said. And all because he wants us to fight for him. He wants a fight, he's going to get one. Vegeta nodded. We have no choice now, our families depend on it. Right. Goku murmured, all he could muster. I'm heading home to prepare. You meet me there in 3 hours. We will find this bastard Snow and destroy him. Before Goku could agree, Vegeta sprinted out of the mall. Goku could sense he was already flying back to West City the moment he was outdoors. I would have never guessed Snow would go after our families, Goku thought. I didn't think he'd stoop that low. And he knows that we can't be around them 24/7. Wait. Gohan. Vital. I can still sense them. Goku pressed his index and middle finger to his forehead. This time he would make use of instant transmission. There was still a chance to make sure that Gohan and Vital did not meet the same fate as Chi-Chi and Goten. All the more unbearable. The Snow family made trillions throughout the galaxy harnessing the powers of black holes. The Ampheta group is beloved across the universe and many fighters would die for a chance to fight in my elite league. But you two Saiyans were too arrogant, you thought you were too good for me and now your families will pay the price. Don't worry, they're all still alive, for now. As soon as this message concludes, one of our signature Ampheta portals will open for 3 minutes for only 2 people jump in. I expect both of you, Goku and Vegeta, to enter. Snow grinned in his message during an awkward silence before abruptly ending it. Well, I'll explain more when you both arrive. I can't wait to see my elite fighters beat the 2 of you arrogant Saiyans. See ya soon. Bye-bye. And with that, the screen went to black, and the device projected a teal light onto the floor, creating a manhole-sized circle. Black and teal swirled in the middle. Lights flickered in the lab as the hole seemingly pulled all light and energy inside of it. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan and Vital watched the strange portal swirl, still processing what all had just happened. That bastard. Vegeta muttered. He's the arrogant one, he thinks we'll just lie down and play by his rules. He is going to learn a very painful lesson. He will learn just how unacceptable it is to harm a Saiyan's mate. And our offspring. Although in time I have confidence the boys will join us in battle. He can't contain them for long. The Saiyan Prince turned to Gohan and Vital. One of you will need to find us once we enter that gateway, then join us in the fight as reinforcements. Snow thinks he's clever, but we will not play his game. But how will anyone find us? Goku asked. We can't trace where Snow is holding everyone, they could be in another dimension for all we know. Gohan had to think quickly, the portal wouldn't stay open much longer. Out of the corner of his eye, He saw an easily recognizable orange sphere sitting on a shelf. A 3-star Dragon Ball. Bulma was most likely saving it to be ahead of the curve for the next hunt for all 7 balls. He grabbed the ball and tossed it to his father. We should be able to trace this, hopefully even in space. Gohan thought out loud. Vegeta, does Bulma have a more powerful Dragon Ball radar than the one we use on this planet? She does have one. Vegeta quickly answered. He remembered Bulma ranting about the issues she was having with an interstellar dragon radar in the event they had to look for Dragon Balls in space for some unforeseen reason. He looked over at the untested device sitting on a table next to the group. It's still in prototype stages. Gohan quickly located the new radar on a table nearby. It resembled the pocket-sized radar but was about the size of a frying pan, needing more power to track objects in deep space. It's worth a try, Goku said as he looked at the 3-star ball. Time's running out. Vegeta strained. Let's get on with this. Goku nodded, Dragon Ball in hand, and walked up to the portal with Vegeta. It was now or never. The 2 Saiyans stepped forward and blackness soon enveloped their vision. Back in the Capsule Corp lab, Gohan shielded Vital as the portal closed in a flash of blinding cyan light. Gohan turned on the deep space radar and moved out of the plane of Earth to see the locations of all 7 Dragon Balls. Sure enough, 6 were grouped closely together on Earth while 1 was missing. Gohan zeroed out more and his heart raced as he saw one light far out in the depths of the galaxy. That had to be the 3-star ball that his father had just took into the portal. Goku and Vegeta surveyed their strange, new surroundings. This new planet was barren and dark, like they were on the surface of the moon during a perpetual state of nighttime. Even more strange, there were no stars out in the space surrounding them, just blackness, and it was hard to ignore the lit-up giant stadium in front of them. It was sleek black, much like the store at the mall, and bore the Ampheta organization's logo. The size of the building dwarfed the 2 Saiyans. It was not far-fetched to assume it could fit an arena or several arenas inside of the massive compound. Both men immediately felt their ki dropping for some unexplainable reason. I can't sense anyone here, Vegeta observed. Not Bulma or Trunks or any life form. Something is off about this place. Goku held out the 3-star ball and placed it in Vegeta's white-gloved hand. Hang on to this, Goku said as he pressed his 2 fingers to his forehead. I need to test something out. HMPH. Vegeta scoffed. As easy as it will be for me to punish this snow bastard by myself, don't you want to join in on the fun? I need to see if Gohan can see where we are. Goku answered. You're right, something about this place is off. And I don't know about you, but my ki is dropping. I feel like I'm being drained. I have to see if I can even transmit it all. If I can't, then we're gonna need Gohan and Vital to come get us. Vegeta remained silent, but he felt his ki level falling as well. Very well, but make it quick. Gohan and Vital stared at the screen of the star chart until their gaze was abruptly broken by Goku materializing back into the lab. Did it work? He asked. Can you see where I brought the Dragon Ball? Yeah, looks like with this advanced radar we can see where the ball is. Gohan answered, studying the radar and a map of galactic coordinates. Based on the star charts, it looks like snow is on some structure near a cluster of black holes, the Nil cluster. Something didn't feel right when I transmitted here. There's something on that planet. Whatever it is, it's affecting any technique I try to use. I'm going to test transmitting there one more time and then I'll try come back for you, Gohan. Goku looked over to Vital. If I can't transmit again, we're going to need you to get a ship ready and meet us at this Nil cluster then. Before Gohan could reply, his father pressed his fingers to his forehead and transmitted away. Gohan could tell he struggled to locate Vegeta and transmit the second time. He looked over to his wife, who seemed overwhelmed by everything that had just transpired. Several minutes passed and Goku had not returned. Why hasn't your dad came back yet? Vital asked, concerned that something might have happened back yet. I can't think of a good reason, Gohan answered, growing more worried himself. They are near black holes, which are known to siphon energy from other objects. Could they be interfering with his transmission? Vital rolled her eyes. Don't ask me, you're the science nerd. I think that could be it, Gohan muttered, still deep in thought. That means I have to do things the hard way. I gotta talk to Dr. Briefs and get a ship going. You need to stay here where it's safe. Are you kidding me? She scoffed. You heard your dad, he told Me to find a ship ready so we can meet him wherever he went. Gohan was really apprehensive about her joining him on this mission. Are you sure? I'm coming with Gohan. I'm part of the family now and I want to fight too. Gohan did not want to argue. She was too stubborn and there was no convincing her to not come with no matter how dangerous this mission could be. You really sure? We don't even know how long the trip is going to take. The Nil cluster is far away. I'm more worried about how you'll deal with the boredom than whatever Snow has waiting for us. Maybe this would dissuade her. Vital stood up with a confident expression on her face. I'm positive. I want to save them as much as you do. Convincing her to stay behind was futile. Well, all right. I do want to bring Krillin with, he's got experience with space travel. We went to planet Namek together after all. Then let's find him and get going already, Vital exclaimed as she grabbed Gohan's hand. What are we waiting for? It seemed Goku had only left Vegeta's side at the Ampheta Stadium for a few minutes before he materialized back. Instead of fading in instantly like when normally used the instant transmission technique, Goku faded in slowly. He was noticeably transparent for a moment, as if his transmission was slowed down to a degree. Well, that's not right, Goku remarked. He held his fingers to his forehead once again and tried to transmit back to Gohan but was unable to. Goku scratched his head, puzzled, and realized he was unable to draw any key. Dang it, he thought. I was hoping I could transmit back at least one more time and bring Gohan here. I guess I can't. You feel that, Kakarot? Vegeta asked, the stress of the situation causing his voice to sound more gruff than normal. While you were gone, my ki continued to fall. I felt it being depleted and made an attempt to power up but to no avail. Yeah. I could barely trace you back on Earth to transmit. Goku replied. He pressed his fingers to his forehead once again to try and transmit one more time but found he was unable to this time. That must be why we can't sense anyone here. Something is sapping our ki and whatever it is must be really powerful to drain us like this. It's like this planet itself is sucking out our ki. Vegeta added, setting down the 3-star ball on the ground. At this rate, we won't be able to transform to Super Saiyan or use any ki attacks. We will be forced to fight at our base strength and rely on basic fighting. Snow really hates ki, huh? Goku speculated, so much that he won't let any fighter use it. Vegeta turned back to look at the large metal gate to the stadium. We haven't even entered and he's already using dirty tricks to try and gain an advantage. But we have no choice, we still have to fight. For our families. There's no telling what Snow has done to them. Goku nodded and faced the entrance with Vegeta. Seeing how much is on the line, we need to be on the same page from here on out. Vegeta turned to look to Goku on his side. There's no room for quarrels now. Instead of giving Vegeta a response, Goku held his fist towards him. To his surprise, Vegeta fist bumped him in a show of solidarity. He was putting his pride behind for teamwork. As the two crept up to the large door, it began to retract upwards, allowing them inside the ominous stadium. The 3-star Dragon Ball was left unattended to, sitting next to a rock in plain view as the two Saiyans proceeded inside. The only thing on the minds of both men were the fates of their wives and sons. The two Saiyan warriors made their way down the dimly lit corridor. From the outside, this building certainly looked like a stadium, but the inside seemed more like the home of someone affluent. Marble floors and pieces of art decorated the walls. Goku was focused on entering the arena, which he could see ahead as the only light source in the corridor, but Vegeta observed the photos on the walls that were not art. Mostly family photos of Snow and an older man that was the same species as Snow. Vegeta could only assume that was Snow's father. They exited the corridor and entered the arena standing on a platform with a green jewel-like surface. Both men expected spectators given how the Ampheta organization were supposedly a fighting promotion, but the arena was eerily empty. Not a single fan could be found in the seats of what appeared to be a stadium that could hold tens of thousands of people. For whatever reason, the arena was vacant. All that could be seen was the ring in the middle, which was illuminated from an unseen light source above. The ring of the arena seemed to be based off of the Budokai ring, stone tiles and all. The 4 corners, however, had thick stone pillars at each corner extending high up into the ceiling. The outside of the ring seemed foreboding. Instead of grass like the Budokai arena, a strange obsidian material separated the ring from the stands of seats where the spectators should be. A painfully familiar, shrill voice suddenly cut through the silence. "Ah, I knew my Saiyan pure bloods would show up. The mysterious light from above cast light upon an open skybox. The luxurious suite was about a floor or two above the ring and appeared designed to be the best seats in the house, so naturally Mr. Snow gave himself such a suite. At the moment, only the spoiled owner of the Ampheta organization could be seen in the booth sitting on an opulent throne. The throne seemed a bit oversized for the scrawny Mr. Snow. A few other figures were in the darkness near him, but neither Goku nor Vegeta could make out who they were. I haven't slept a single day since you two Saiyans denied me. Snow practically growled, his demeanor changing from boisterous to feral. I have been looking forward to this day. How will the two of you fare with Zero Ki? Oh, you're both so dependent on using your little energy attacks and your transformations, but the Ampheta arena sits atop the nil cluster, black holes. And my family made our fortune harnessing the power of black holes. I have learned how to focus the immense siphoning power to drain the ki out of cheating fighters such as yourselves. My brilliant machines are designed to lock onto your key signatures and perpetually drain your energy, but don't worry, I will let you have enough to stay alive. For the time being, I'd prefer you two remain alive. My roster will take care of bringing your energy down to zero, otherwise known as death. It's time you fought like men. Not cheaters. No more stupid energy attacks for either of you. Goku clenched his fist as his anger began to rise. Out of all the foes he had faced over his life, none had gone after this family to this level, kidnapping both his wife and son for unknown purposes. This confrontation felt extra personal. HMPH, even if you take away our ki, I highly doubt that will pose a challenge to us. Vegeta sneered as he crossed his arms. We are still a threat to you, otherwise you wouldn't be hiding up there. For once, Goku was happy to hear Vegeta taunting an opponent. A cocky grin spread across Snow's face. Of course, I'm only here to watch my fighters destroy the two of you. You had your chance to sign lucrative deals with me and fight for the Ampheta organization, but you both blew it, Snow shrieked, his voice cracking. He collected himself and reclined back into the leather cushion of his throne. You think you're too good for me? I can see why Frieza wiped your kind out. You Saiyans are such a smug, brainless, barbaric race. Goku stepped forward, staring up at Snow in his perch. We still don't have to fight, he reasoned. Let our wives and sons go and we'll leave. Snow began to giggle. Huh, not happening. I got big plans for your wives and sons. Would you like to know? Actually, I don't care, you're going to die today here, so you should both die knowing what future lies in store for your families. Goku and Vegeta remained silent. Snow leaned forward on his leather chair with a grin. Your sons are in storage, in stasis. They're hybrids. I want to see what makes human, Saiyan hybrids so powerful. Right now, they're both sedated for research into their genetic codes. Perhaps I'll harvest their genes for my fighters so we can possess Saiyan powers. Or perhaps I'll offer your sons spots fighting for me. I doubt they'll make the same mistake their egomaniac fathers have made by denying me. Vegeta scowled. The nerve. This fool seems to think he can just take the abilities of others. Just like everything else in his life, he thinks he can just take something if he wants it badly enough. Goku stayed still, fixated on Snow. He began to grit his teeth. Knowing exactly what fate that their sons faced only raised the stakes. And as for your wives, I considered disposing them, but I found them both to be so beautiful, Snow said, his voice sounding more lecherous as he finished his sentence. I always thought they were quite the catches while I followed your careers and monitored you. I kept my fantasies of them confined to my mind, but I found that they were so much more lovely in person. And their husbands betrayed me, so why hold my longing and lust for them back any longer? It would be such a crime to dispose of these two exquisite goddesses, let alone allow them to continue wasting away with their arrogant, moronic deadbeat Saiyan husbands, who don't appreciate them by the way. Not like I do. Yes, you are both arrogant and neglectful. I would never abandon these two to do some bonehead activity like train while we're together. How could you both be so stupid and so selfish? I would never do what you did to your former wives. No, I'll never let them leave my side. The two of you both failed these goddesses as husbands, therefore I have decided they will both be mine now. Snow had been eagerly waiting for this moment as he lit up the suite, allowing the two Saiyans to get a glimpse of their wives and the new attires, or more so, lack of attire they were dressed in. It was unclear what their exact purpose was to Snow besides being living decorations or more so trophies. Sitting at the seat of Snow's throne on ruby-colored mattress among equally opulent pillows, both women wore variations of the same outfit. Gold metallic-looking top, sand matching gold bottoms. That was all they had for modesty in terms of clothing. Snow seemed to take great pleasure in decorating the two women as several gold and jewel-studded bracelets adorned their arms. Both women had been growing their hair out, and it appeared as though Snow took great pleasure in having them both have the same hairstyle of one single long braid. Lastly, the two wore gold collars with a chain extending into Snow's throne. The two women had expressions that could only be seen as humiliation as their husbands saw them in such an exposed state. Vegeta finally began to lose his composure as Goku stepped forward, his anger growing more. "If you lay a hand on Chi-Chi, you'll pay, you bastard," he shouted at Snow. "And don't try anything with Bulma either." Chi-Chi felt a small bit of comfort hearing Goku's voice. His presence brought her some much-needed hope. "Why would I hurt my future wives?" Snow asked mockingly as he tugged on their chains. "That's right. As soon as you both are dead, these two fine human female specimens will be bound to me in another way besides these chains, bound by marriage. You both may be arrogant and cowards, but I will at least respect you enough to save wedding these two exotic beauties until you Saiyans are both dead. I would have never imagined that I would inherit the wives of the two greatest warriors in the universe. I am just that great. I will be the husband they both deserve." Bulma also felt relief in her husband's appearance, enough relief to give her the confidence to speak up. "Vegeta," she cried, her voice ripe with fear and desperation, "get me out of here." Her unexpected defiance earned her a harsh chain yank from Snow. Vegeta's scowl grew as he watched her fall back on her cushion. He noticed Uma was also in the booth attending to Snow. "If you want a wife so badly, why don't you marry that horse-faced abomination back there?" Snow began to frown and pulled Bulma's chain back fiercely as soon as she sat back up, causing her to whimper and wince. That would get Vegeta to simmer down. "Because she is an android. I had her built to be my assistant. I am not a loser. I am not going to marry a robot." Snow sulked in his throne for a moment. "Enough talk. It's time for the main event," Snow suddenly exclaimed, his demeanor changing back to his usual hyperactive mood. "The two of you will fight against the entire roster of fighters from the Ampheta organization. If you defeat them all, which I doubt, you will get to face me." Finally, some good news, Goku thought, his glare at Snow not breaking. "There are rules. One of you will fight one of my fighters at a time. One stands on the outside platform, the other in the ring. You may both tag in and out of fights. I will surround the resting fighter in a barrier, so you don't get any funny ideas and try to double-team my guys. Only the fighter, tagging out, can deactivate the barrier. The resting fighter will stay put. If a fighter is knocked out via 10 count, thrown out of the ring or killed, then they're defeated. Much like World Tournament rules, only with the thrill of potential death. Oh, and no weapons allowed. HMPH. When someone is killed, they're defeated." Who could have guessed? Vegeta thought, opting to keep his mouth shut this time and spare Bulma more punishment for his words. "If either of you try to get smart and fail to follow my rules, I will have both of your sons dropped into the nearest black hole. Or worse, don't test me. I am also giving the two of you the option of forfeit." Snow smirked. "You can willingly let me have your wives and sons as well as take me up on the offer to fight for me. I will give you that opportunity one more time. Wouldn't it be nice to fight alongside your former wives and sons?" "We will not even consider it," Goku fired back immediately. Bulma and Chi-Chi both smiled weakly as Snow frowned. "That's okay," Snow replied sarcastically. "Either way I win. I get to have the last two Saiyans fight in my ring and die in my ring. And no matter what, I walk away with two new wives. It will be hard to focus on the fights when I can see myself consummating the marriages the moment all of this is over. Ah yes, I might as well enjoy it while it lasts. I can't lose." "We'll see about that," Goku shouted, nearly trembling with rage. He could not stop looking over at Chi-Chi. Every time he saw her by Snow in her chained-up state, his temper boiled. "Kakarot." Vegeta started as Goku turned to look at him. "I hate the situation with our women as much as you do. To attempt steal a Saiyan's mate is a transgression worthy of death. But I see what he's doing. He's trying to distract us with them in that state of undress. Their lives as well as our sons' lives are on the line. We need to focus for their sake. This is going to be very difficult for both of us, and there's no doubt that Weakling will continue to use more dirty tricks against us. You're right, Goku said, looking down. He had practiced remaining calm in battle so long, but seeing his loved ones get hurt would never fail to enrage him. We need to win all of these fights and rescue them. Then that bastard will pay for what he's done. Goku looked up and tried to make eye contact with Chi-Chi. She was far, but he wanted her to know that losing was not an option and she would not be married to Snow by the time the night was over. He could sense her fear and desperately wanted to give her even a sliver of reassurance. Then let's get on with it. Shall we use the tried and true method to determine who fights first? Vegeta asked, placing his fist in the palm of his white-gloved hand. The tried and true method in question was a game of rock, paper, scissors, evoking memories of the fights in Babbidi's spaceship. Snow quickly caught on to the game. No, 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 he yelled. Remember the part where I said that I make the rules? I book the fights and Goku is going first. Vegeta shook his head and walked over to the waiting platform as Goku stood in the ring. Vegeta crossed his arms as he stood on the green-tiled platform. Goku breathed in deep and started to stretch his legs in the center of the ring in anticipation of the first fight. No matter what, I gotta be locked in, Goku thought as he took one last glance at Chi-Chi. For her, for Goten. Let's do this, time to fight. Shaking off the lethargy and adjusting to the light, Goten looked around his surroundings. The room reminded him of a hospital, clean and organized. Several examination beds lining the walls with glass lids next to where Goten and Trunks had regained consciousness. This place is super creepy. Trunks chimed in, observing the room himself. Let's get out of here. Goten nodded and got off the examination table. The two boys opened the sliding doors of the entrance and headed into a hallway. Both Saiyan hybrids were startled by what they witnessed as soon as they exited the room. As far as their eyes could see, pods with indistinct figures floating inside them on one wall and what appeared to be prison cells on the other side, all empty. Do y'all think our moms are somewhere around here too? Goten asked as the two walked down the hallway. Trunks shook his head. I can't sense them. Actually, I can't sense anything at all. Both boys continued their path down the concourse, the lights growing dimmer as they pressed forward. What even is this place? Trunks wondered out loud. It's like a jail or something. That's because this place is a prison, a third voice answered, catching both boys by surprise. Who's there? An alarmed Goten asked, his voice echoing. That's not important. The voice answered quickly. We're here to be either stored or imprisoned. We're all going to die here anyway. We're not gonna die, Trunks protested. We're gonna escape. Do you want to come with us? Vegeta remained in the center of the ring, his arms folded as he awaited his first opponent of the night. He looked over at the empty seats surrounding the ring. This is such an absurd situation. This spoiled fool builds this enormous stadium and holds fights with no spectators, he thought, his frustration growing. He looked over and made the mistake of seeing Bulma sitting on her mattress and pillows in her new outfit, which was simultaneously skimpy and lavish. She looked more bored than distraught at the moment. Vegeta groaned in anger. He had been conditioned to bury his emotions in battle, so he tried to avoid looking at her. He knew she was placed there only there to distract him. And probably to humiliate her. Vegeta despised seeing his Bulma, his brilliant and classy wife, stripped down and exposed for all to see, reduced to being scantily clad trophy on display. She didn't deserve to be treated like this. He maintained a stoic demeanor, but internally all he could think about was how desperately he wanted to free Bulma and find Trunks wherever he was. One thing was certain, once he successfully finished the gauntlet, Snow was going to be punished. Severely. Our next opponent will be a much more seasoned fighter. Juice was new, my mistake, and he lost due to inexperience. Snow proclaimed, still bitter that Juice lost in such an embarrassing fashion. The next fighter has years and years of fighting experience. As a matter of fact, he was the first fighter one signed to my Elite League. Hold on. I need to wake him up. As Snow quickly got up to head to the locker room, Chi-Chi began to walk out of the entrance, preceding the next fighter. She held up a large sign reading, Fight 2. Goku's heart raced as she turned the corner of the ring and made her way towards him. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I woke him up. He's on his way, Snow announced, his voice cracking with excitement. Goku looked up and saw Bulma serving Snow wine again as he sat down. The two appeared to be having a contentious conversation. Bulma looked less than thrilled, but she would inadvertently be giving Goku an opportunity to check in on Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi, Goku said under his breath, hoping Snow would not notice. Are you okay? She began to slow down so she could communicate with her husband. Yes, I'm okay, and so is Bulma. That freak Snow hasn't laid a hand on either of us, at least not yet. I'm just trying to stay quiet for now and bide my time. I am praying this nightmare will just be over soon. I just want this to end. It will be over soon. We're going to get both of you out of there, I promise. Goku looked into Chi-Chi's longing dark eyes, finally making direct eye contact after so long. He was taken aback how all out Snow went with her appearance. Her thick black winged eyeliner stood as did her lips, which were cherry red. Making eye contact with her eased his heart, and he hoped it did the same for her. Please, Goku. Chi-Chi whispered sharply. I know you can do it. I believe in you. But Snow is really creeping us out. I'm worried about Bulma. She's been defiant and talking back the whole time we've been captured. I think Snow is going to try really hard to hurt Vegeta to punish her and break her spirit. Don't worry, he can handle himself, and so can I, Goku assured her. We're going to win. Free you, then we'll find the boys. His confident smile automatically gave Chi-Chi a strong sense of hope, a feeling she had been missing ever since her ordeal with Snow began. Goku had a special talent for making her feel protected. I gotta get back up there before he starts to suspect anything, Chi-Chi said, as she put her sign down. I love you. She quickly wrapped her hand tightly around Goku's index finger before heading back to the skybox. I love you too, Goku murmured, hoping she could hear him. He looked up to see Snow with Bulma waiting for her. Shortly after Snow's announcement, a lime green colored humanoid made his way out. The fighter had long dark hair and wore a leather jacket with matching leather pants. Snow was not wrong in describing this fighter as experienced. He certainly looked older than the last competitor, more weathered from numerous battles. Peculiarly, the fighter started to gesture to the empty seats as if he was playing to a non-existent crowd, causing Vegeta to recoil with disgust at the bizarre behavior. Waking up from his nap, the original elite fighter of the Ampheta organization's elite tournament, I give to you the Tree of Fighting Knowledge, Jynweythek. Jynweythek once again raised his arms, waving at the empty seats surrounding the arena with a smile on his face, seemingly taking an imaginary ovation. The fight was soon to begin as the red barrier went up around Goku at the waiting platform. Do you not realize there's no one here? You moron. Vegeta finally broke and had to call out this fighting veteran's unusual behavior. Sounds like you're jealous of my millions of fans, all here tonight. Jynweythek responded. I think you ought to be humbled, kiddo. HMPH. Vegeta scoffed as he unfolded his arms. Much like your boss, it appears your delusion runs deep. Bear witness. Jynweythek suddenly shouted as he changed his stance. To my superior speed and my strongest strike, the deadly electric elbow. The weathered warrior launched off from his position as he rotated in the air, raising his elbow out for a strike against the Saiyan Prince. To his shock, Vegeta quickly blocked the strike and gripped his elbow with his gloved hand. Vegeta tightened his grip as Jynweythek dropped to his knees and cried out as Vegeta gripped onto his elbow tighter. You're not off to a good start if that's your strongest strike. If you call that electric, then I'll call you the deadbeat that doesn't pay the electricity bill. With that, Vegeta launched Jynweythek into the stone pillar. The veteran fighter winced as he collided with the pillar, surprisingly leaving little damage despite the velocity. Vegeta pounced towards the pillar and delivered a knee strike to Jynweythek's midsection. Before he had a chance to process the hit, Vegeta grabbed a handful of his long brown hair and drove him face first into the ring, leaving cracks in the stone formation. A black and white droid moved closer to the fighters. It was the automated referee, and it soon began the 10 count as Jynweythek lay motionless in the ring. The veteran fighter began to show signs of life once the count reached 6 and slowly stood up to Vegeta's surprise as he looked over. You want more punishment? He asked as he turned around to face Jynweythek again, walking towards him. I'll gladly oblige. Goten and Trunks walked down the dimly lit corridor closer to the cell where the mysterious voice was coming from. They could make out the faint shape of a man inside the cell back in the darkness. A red glowing light seemed to divide the outside of the cell where Trunks and Goten were standing and the inside where the prisoner was. What do you mean stored anyway? Trunks asked. You guys really don't know what you walked into, do you? The voice answered with a question of his own. Everyone here is stored for their energy or so they can be forced to fight the stars of this company. Trunks shrugged. That sounds lame. And that's not gonna happen to us. Goten chimed in. We're gonna escape. A man emerged from the shadows. He looked closer to a human than anyone else Goten and Trunks had encountered in this strange place. The man wore red and blue shorts and a black tank top. But his fighting getup did not hide the many tattoos that covered his entire body. He had a look to him of restlessness, like he had struggled to sleep for years. His black hair looked disheveled, and his beard had specks of gray. I doubt two kids could possibly escape a place like this, he said. Then again, you're both wandering freely, so maybe you can. How did you get out of your cells? We never got put in cells, Goten answered quickly. One moment we were at the mall with our parents, then the next we fell asleep and woke up on hospital beds. Oh, and then we found our way out here. Trunks explained. We were looking around, then we found you. So, he sedated you instead of harvesting your energy. That's odd. The man thought out loud. I don't know what Snow could possibly want with two kids to sedate them for gene harvesting. What's so special about you? Harvesting genes? Who are you anyway? Goten asked. And why are you the only one here? And who's Snow? Hey, one question at a time, kiddo. You can call me Seoda. I was a fighter for the Ampheta organization until I acted up. You could say I'm a bad influence. And Mr. Snow is the guy who owns this place. Ampheta organization is his company. What did you do to get locked up? Trunks asked this time. Seoda turned around. Because I told the truth about this place. I fought across this galaxy in many tournaments, big and small. I consider myself to be the best in the universe, but I always am in search of new competition. I was invited to join the Ampheta organization's tournament of elites years ago. I thought this was a legitimate tournament because of the old owner, Mr. Snow's father, who was a renowned promoter of fighting tournaments. I thought I was fighting for him, not the current owner. This place is anything but legit. Seoda continued, sounding more bitter. In reality, it's all a scam. It's just Snow Jr.'s toy box, and that spoiled man-child collects fighters all over the universe like they're living toys. He keeps the fighters he likes, feeds weaker fighters to them in fights, then he turns the defeated fighters into raw energy. And I have no idea what he does with that energy. Why would he do that? Goten asked. Snow's always been a fan of fighting. He loves to watch fights, and he wanted to be a fighter himself. The only issue is that he's too weak and too lazy to put the training in. Not to mention, he's too entitled, and he can't handle not getting his way. His father Snow Sr. was the only thing standing in Snow Jr.'s way of getting whatever he wanted. So, one day after one of Junior's usual temper tantrums, he finally got rid of his father by making him the first victim of his new creation, the Void Vacuum, which harvests the energy of any being with high power levels by dissolving them and storing them in the machine. Seoda looked off, deep in thought, reflecting on his tenure for Ampheta. He may be a petulant, spoiled man-child, but he is a crafty one, that Junior. I'll give him that. He knew that no one would find his father's remains if they were disposed of this way. Now Snow Jr. inherited his family fortune and goes around the universe, getting as many unwitting fighters as he can find so he can condense them into pure energy. I am not quite sure what he wants to do with that energy. Maybe he wants to use the energy to make the fighters he likes more powerful and give them an unfair, not to mention undeserved, advantage in combat. All I know is he has hundreds of thousands of fighters across the universe reduced into pure energy over the years, and they're all stored here, somehow safe from being drained from all the black holes. Black holes? Goten repeated. I guess you guys haven't had any astronomy classes yet, huh? Seoda shook his head. All you need to know is that they're these cosmic objects that pull everything close to them in, and I mean everything. Snow may be a lunatic, but I'll admit he's also very intelligent. His family and him have made a lot of cash once they learned how to manipulate black holes, making portals to go from one place to another. He managed to somehow keep this place from getting sucked into the black holes. Both boys processed all this new information until Trunks piped up. That doesn't answer why you're the only one here. Be patient, I'm getting to that part. Seoda snapped. Damned kids and their attention spans. There is only truth and lies. I am a man who only tells the truth. Sometimes that's helped me and other times it's gotten me into trouble. I guess this time my honesty really backfired, especially when some people don't want to hear the truth. After a few fights here I stumbled upon the truth of this place really is. What's happening to the fighters? I confronted Mr. Snow and told him he's a fool. I was ready to quit and never come back to this hell. But there was one problem with that. I happened to be Snow's favorite fighter before making the mistake of signing here. He was a fan of my work and had been dying to have me under contract for years. Sayoda looked down at the ground, sneering. He wasn't going to let a toy walk out on him, especially his favorite toy. So once one of his fighters tipped him off of my plan to leave, he imprisoned me and told the roster that I tried to attack him. He told them I made him fear for his life even though I didn't lay a hand on him. I only told him I didn't want to work for him anymore. But I was the first to rebel against him and an example had to be made. He's such a coward. So, you're the only one here. So that way you can't escape or fight somewhere else? Goten asked. Correct. Being Snow's favorite has its perks, I guess. I'll take dying of boredom over being dissolved. Although sitting in the darkness got pretty old about the 3rd month or so in. Sayoda muttered. I don't even know how much time has passed. Now my turn for questions. Who are you guys? And just why would Snow want to capture 2 kids? You both can't be that strong. And kids don't make for good fighters. My name's Trunks. And well, actually we are pretty strong, Trunks bragged. And we can fight too. Goten chimed in. Oh, and I'm Goten. Sayoda looked skeptical. Show me just how strong you are. Tell you what, break me out of here and I'll help you guys escape. I know the layout of this place. See that console behind you? Both Goten and Trunks looked at a computer behind them. That controls the barrier of this cell. If you can destroy it, this red glow disappears, and I can get out. But it's reinforced to the ground with a strong metal alloy. I doubt any of Snow's strongest fighters could destroy it, let alone 2 kids, but you're both welcome to try. Go on, prove me wrong. Sure. This shouldn't be too hard. I got this, Goten said as he backed up a few steps. The young boy ran at the console at full speed, leaping up and delivering a kick, easily pulverizing the computer and sending pieces flying down the corridor. The red light of the cell flickered and disappeared quickly. Sayoda stood in his cell despite his freedom, dumbfounded at how easily Goten obliterated his imprisonment. He finally exited his cell, still bewildered. You obviously are no ordinary child with that ability. I guess I owe you one. There was a tense silence as the Capsule Corp ship continued its journey to the nil cluster of black holes. There were 3 hours left on the journey. They were halfway to their destination. With an ordinary ship, the nil cluster would take weeks to get to. Luckily for Gohan, Vital and Krillin, Dr. Briefs had developed a new thruster to make the trip quicker thanks to his new, Hyperblast, engine he had been tinkering around with. Thanks to his new creation, a multi-week trip to the far edge of the galaxy was reduced to 6 hours. Gohan was standing by the window looking over at Krillin, who was slumped down in the pilot seat, looking to get a quick nap in on the long trip. Vital, on the other hand, had been awake during the entire trip, practicing her strikes on the opposite end of the ship. Gohan did not expect her to want to be involved so badly and fight whoever abducted her in-laws. The young scholar still felt uneasy. He was not sure what foes awaited them. Could Vital and Krillin hold their own? Could he hold his own? And how was his father faring against the same enemies he would soon be facing? Not being able to sense Goku or Vegeta for that matter did not ease Gohan's anxiety. He breathed deeply. There was no use in worrying and making his agitation worse. He had to have faith in his wife and friend. He had to believe in himself as well. His entire family depended on him. Vegeta was beginning to get frustrated. After every strike he delivered, this Jarek character kept getting up before the automated referee system could reach the count of 10. He should have been beaten a long time ago, yet he was still getting up again and again for more beatings. Jarek wiped blood from his brow, a pained expression on his face. He began to sit up, gripping onto Vegeta's blue pants to hoist himself up. The Saiyan Prince wanted to knock this alleged fighting veteran unconscious to send a message to Mr. Snow, who was still sipping on wine in his skybox flanked by Bulma and Chi-Chi. In between fights, Vegeta had been imagining the punishment he would inflict on Snow once they had gone through all of his contestants. This was not about pride. It was about saving Bulma and Trunks and making sure they left this stadium without getting hurt. If I had use of Ki, this pathetic flabby heap of flesh would be vaporized by now. Vegeta thought. He still keeps getting up after every strike. The Vegeta of old would have been jealous of how quickly Goku dispatched of his opponent, but modern Vegeta was only concerned with getting a win and moving on to the next opponent. The Saiyan Prince was a changed man. This contest was not about patting his ego, it was about winning and rescuing Bulma and Trunks. And maybe punishing Snow for what he's done to his family. Vegeta wanted to imagine getting his hands on the promoter but had to focus on his current fight. Vegeta began to seethe as he grabbed a handful of Jynweythek's hair. He looked down on the aging competitor with disdain before driving a knee into his chest. He delivered another strike with his knee as a thought of Bulma crossed his mind. Seeing her in her current state was bad enough, but Vegeta had no idea where Trunks was. He wound his knee back again and delivered an extra hard shot. This time the impact knocked Jynweythek loose, and his head whipped to the stone tile of the ring, causing it to crack. "Vegeta!" Goku yelled out. Vegeta turned to look at him as Jynweythek writhed on the ground. "Remember what you said to me. We gotta conserve what little energy we have for the rest of the gauntlet. We don't know how many more of these guys Snow is gonna throw at us." Vegeta turned around to look back at his opponent. He felt frustrated at himself for letting his own anger prolong this beatdown, and he hadn't even realized it. "Damn it, Kakarot. You're right, and I hate when you're right. It's time to end this." As he walked closer to Jynweythek, he heard a faint voice from above, "Get him, Vegeta." It was unmistakably Bulma, who was still fearless as ever. She had utmost confidence in her husband and did not care about the consequences of her defiance. "Keep hitting him. I can't wait to get out of here," and Bulma was suddenly forcefully pulled back by her chain. She felt tightening around her neck and was unable to speak. "Why do you keep forgetting what your job is?" Snow asked her as he continued to pull and silencing her. "Your job is to look sexy in front of my throne and be silent." He released his grip on the chain as the pained expression left Bulma's face and she began to gasp for air. Snow turned his attention to Chi-Chi. "And don't you get any funny ideas either," he threatened as she scowled at him. "I can have everyone down there destroyed if you two act up, so why do you both insist on testing me? You may be my future wives, but in reality, you will be more like my slaves, my property, and you will serve me. I own you both. You both belong to me, got it? So, serve me and remember your place." Chi-Chi looked forward and rolled her eyes. "Goku is going to beat you into paste once he's done down there. And I can't wait to watch," she thought. Both women heard footsteps behind them and soon a monotoned female voice. "Sir, we have bad news." "What is it, Uma? Can't you see I got fights to watch?" Snow retorted, not trying to hide his annoyance. "The hybrids, they have escaped." "What?" he shrieked. "How?" "We sedated them the moment they stepped through the portal." Uma remained stone-faced. "We may not have given them enough tranquilizers. It appears they woke up." "Woke up?" Snow repeated. "That's it, they're both dead. I don't even want their stupid Saiyan DNA anymore. I don't need it. Show me where they are in the control room. Surely one of the cameras picked them up and where they went. Then we'll send the brothers to eliminate them." Snow got up off his throne as Uma walked ahead of him. He turned back to look at Chi-Chi and Bulma. "Don't go anywhere, my lovely wives," he commanded with a wink. "Oh wait, you won't. You know, because I chained you both up. I will be back soon. Try not to miss me too much, my sweethearts." Both women waited in the calm silence for a few moments before realizing Snow was far away. Chi-Chi was the first to break the silence. "Are you okay, Bulma?" she asked in a low voice. "I hate to see him hurt you like that." "I'm fine. A little sore," Bulma responded, rubbing her neck causing her to wince. "But I'll feel a lot better once I'm watching Vegeta breaking that loser Snow into pieces. What about you? You good, Kai?" She nodded. "Yeah. Just starting to get cold. He didn't give us much to wear, so it's not easy to stay warm in this chilly arena. This is all so ridiculous." "I know. All I wanted was to take advantage of back-to-school sales and now we're here. Could we at least get 1 week of nothing crazy happening in our lives?" Bulma whined. She looked at the jewelry adorning her body, particularly the rings and bracelets she received. "I don't care. I'm keeping all these once this is over with. Some of these gems are actually nice. At least it sounds like the boys escaped. I really hope that Freak doesn't hurt them." Chi-Chi's heart sank. It was bad enough having to watch Goku fight. Now Goten was joining the fray somewhere else in the compound, and she had no idea how he would fare or what type of danger awaited him, wherever he was. Bulma looked up and sighed, thinking about Trunks. They'll be fine. You know those two can take care of themselves. Aren't you worried? Of course, there's a lot to worry about. Bulma answered. The boys, our husbands fighting down there and that sicko marrying us if they lose, and being stuck in these awful, revealing outfits forever. But we can't think about any of that. If we do, we'll be even more miserable than we already are. So what's the use? None of that is going to happen. I know Goku and Vegeta will win. And I know Trunks and Goten will be okay too. I wish I could get my hands on Snow now. I'd like to give him a good slap. You know. Chi-Chi began. I used to be a fighter once and I bet I could kick Snow's ass if I wasn't chained up. You bet? A small, hopeful smile formed on Bulma's face. I know you could take that scrawny geek easily. I probably could too. But I'd rather watch you do it. You're way better at fighting than I am. You made it to the quarterfinals of the World Tournament after all. Chi-Chi smiled back and turned her attention back to the ring. Vegeta had picked up Jynweythek by his hair and was dragging him over to the edge of the ring. If I see an opening, I'm taking it. Until then, I'll keep biding my time in this uncomfortable position. Before Bulma could respond, she heard the door to the skybox opening. That had to be Snow returning. He sat down on his throne, uncharacteristically silent as Vegeta tossed Jynweythek out of the ring. "Aw man, Jynweythek, not you too," Snow cried, burying his face in his hands. Vegeta looked up to the skybox. "That's a ring out, isn't it?" He barked at Snow. "Go dissolve this fool already so we can move on to the next fight." Snow paused. "No, I don't think I will. I've been a fan of Jynweythek since I was a child. I have been watching him fight for years. I don't have the heart to turn him into energy, even if he lets me down sometimes." Vegeta groaned angrily again as Uma made her way down to the outside of the ring to help Jynweythek back to the locker room to receive treatment. The Saiyan Prince shook his head and began to walk back to the platform so Goku could fight next. He obviously isn't going to show Kakarot or myself such mercy. "Hold on. I never said you could rest," Snow shouted. "You're staying in for the next fight, Vegeta. I booked the matches, remember? I have supreme power here. This is my world." Annoyed, Vegeta turned back as Goku glared at Snow. He was beginning to get antsy to fight and Snow just took his chance away. "Vegeta, face it, the fact is you are the weak link." Snow sneered. "I know my guys will finish you off soon, then I can focus on your friend Goku. As a fan or former fan of your work, I know how both of your fights go. Vegeta goes down, then Goku saves the day. That's not happening this time. You won't be saving anyone today." "That's not true," Goku protested. "Vegeta is my greatest opponent and no one pushes me the way he does. Most importantly, he is my friend. He's my equal as far as I'm concerned, so you take that back right now." "Goku, you're just plain stupid," Snow fired back. "That's your greatest weakness. You're a flat-out moron. I'll explain this as a food analogy and maybe if you rub your two brain cells together and listen, then you might understand. Vegeta is the appetizer, and you are the main course." Goku decided to not respond. He was getting concerned that Vegeta would not get the break he did. While Jynweythek was outmatched, he had endurance and Vegeta spent much of his energy pummeling him. Rest would have benefited Vegeta greatly. To add more insults to injury, it was now Bulma's turn to be paraded around the ring, "Fight 3 feet" sign being held above. She sensed her husband was weary and no doubt incensed by Snow's disparaging remarks. She had a talent for easing his discomfort over the course of their relationship and wished she could help him now. After seeing Chi-Chi talking to Goku, Snow forbade Bulma from doing the same with Vegeta prior to her entrance. She wanted to give him the same encouragement, but she would have to get creative. As Bulma continued her journey around the ring, Vegeta's opponent made his way out. A pasty-skinned man with greasy short orange hair and matching orange beard in black jeans with a denim vest of the same color. Compared to the first two fighters the Saiyans faced, this new combatant looked much less like an athlete. Even less so given he had a bottle of liquor in hand while making his entrance. Making his way to the ring, Snow announced obnoxiously from his throne. The king of the underground fighting circuit, a self-proclaimed street criminal, feared for his mastery of weapons across the universe. "I give to you, Acid." HMPH. "So your illustrious boss has drunken criminals fighting for him?" Vegeta mockingly asked as Acid polished off his drink. "This place continues to be more of a joke than I could have ever imagined." Acid tossed his bottle outside the ring, startling Bulma, who heard the glass shatter even though she was at a safe distance from its path. "Go ahead and underestimate me, little man," he croaked, his voice raspy. "That's what all my opponents do. You'll find out the hard way just like the rest of them." Vegeta did not dignify him with a response. He saw the bottle shatter and it was too close to Bulma for his liking. The last time Bulma was on the battlefield with him was disastrous enough. The first encounter with the androids. Vegeta regretted how he acted then, and Bulma lost all interest for ever being in the field of combat ever again. Now she was unwillingly back on the front lines with him, and worse, she was in the battle as a captive in a state of undress. Bulma began to head back to the entrance but looked over to her husband, feeling his agitation. She got under the entrance where Snow could not see her and lifted up her hands to her midsection and pointed the bottom of her thumbs together, then bent her remaining fingers to make a heart shape. There was so much that she wanted to say to him but could not because Snow was still furious that Chi-Chi got to talk to Goku. Vegeta did look over and see her. To people who did not know him, it would appear he was unaffected by her gesture, but she could tell her husband was slightly more at ease. She watched his arms drop down, no longer held up with tension. She turned the other way and headed back to her insufferable captor. "It seems that these Saiyans still pose a challenge, even with their energy depleted," Snow said to Chi-Chi as Bulma returned to her place. "This will not do. I want this all to be over. Send out Saiban next." Bulma's heart sank as she heard the proclamation. At this point she decided to stay quiet instead of protest. Vegeta, however, could still speak out. "Aren't I supposed to be the weak link, in your own words? Is Sloppy over there not sober enough to fight by himself?" Vegeta asked as Acid practiced strikes on his side of the ring. "You are most definitely still the weak link. Don't think that you're not," Snow sharply replied. "I am already bored of these fights, and I want them to be over. It would be too easy to just destroy you both from up here, and I want to see my fighters defeat you both. More importantly, I want to marry my beautiful prizes in front of me and consummate our marriages." Vegeta groaned in disgust and Goku was not much happier about the news. "That's not fair," he protested. "What happened to your rules? You didn't want us to double team your guys, and now you're doing that to us? If you're breaking your own rules, then you must be getting really desperate." "Maybe I am," Snow muttered. "Maybe I was saving my strongest fighters for last." Saiban and Acid are only two members of the highest echelon of the elite fighting faction, feared across the universe and signed to fight exclusively for me. There are 3 other members of the elite, but I doubt you will get a chance to fight them, like the 2 of you are worthy. And you better not get any funny ideas about jumping in to help your friend. If you do, I'll make sure that everyone down there dies. And I really don't want to do that. That's why you're stuck behind the barrier. Then get this other clown of yours out here and let's get on with this," Vegeta shouted. "Put as many of your pathetic competitors in against us and the result will be the same each time." "Very well, I told you I want this to be over too," Snow said with a smirk as he put his hands on the bare shoulders of Chi-Chi and Bulma, causing them both to squirm. Vegeta was itching to fight and assumed his stance, left forearm out with his fist clenched on his right arm. This was the first time he saw Snow put his hands on his wife and now he was livid. The Saiyan Prince watched as his second opponent walked out. A much younger-looking creature clad in blue denim pants, his fists taped like acid, pale green skin and straggly curly hair. He pulled Acid in for an embrace like old friends as they stood together on the opposite side of the ring from Vegeta. "And now," Snow began his announcement, "another elite luminary, I give to you Saiban." Snow looked to his side. "Hold on guys, one more thing before we start." He dug around in a drawer next to his throne and threw 2 objects towards Acid and Saiban. "The sooner we end this, the better. And this gym candy will help a lot." "Thanks boss," Saiban said as he took the object out of its plastic wrapping while Acid did the same. It appeared both fighters received syringes. Goku recoiled in fear as he watched his opponents inject themselves with their newly acquired needles. "I can't watch. This is too much," he thought as he turned away from the fight. Both Acid and Saiban's muscles violently began to grow as soon as they finished their injections. "How many more ways will he try to cheat? He must be so afraid of us," Vegeta thought to himself. "Isn't my raw energy condensed into a syringe just great?" Snow boasted. As Snow sat down, he pulled Bulma and Chi-Chi in closer to him, placing emphasis on keeping Bulma closer to him, his spindly hand stroking her pale shoulder. Vegeta gritted his teeth. That's enough, this ends now. Vegeta shot towards Saiban, who looked up, startled to see the prince charging towards him. Before he could even think about blocking, he was met with an elbow from Vegeta to the side of his head, crashing into the ground and sliding towards the corner pillar. Wasting no time, Acid attempted to deliver a flurry of kicks to Vegeta. The speed of the strikes took Vegeta aback, but he quickly adjusted and lifted up his leg to deliver a pummeling kick to Acid, sending him towards the opposite pillar. Now Vegeta had to decide which opponent to focus on. He had no preference, all he wanted was to fight and dole out punishment. This would be cathartic. He was going to take all of the rage that he was burying deep down from seeing what was being done to Bulma out on the two fighters in the ring with him. Vegeta couldn't decide what was worse, seeing what was done to Bulma or not knowing what Trunks' fate was. Failure was not an option now. Vegeta decided to go for Saiban. He appeared younger and less experienced. Vegeta adjusted his footing and quickly jumped over to the corner he was in. Saiban tried to stand himself up, but before he could, Vegeta drove his knee into the side of the young fighter's head with such force it caused the pillar to crack. Vegeta turned to look at Acid, who was still lying down on the ring. He sprung over and dove his knee into the center of Acid's back, causing him to cry out in pain. Despite losing ki and the ability to fly, Vegeta found he could still easily jump and leap around the ring with enough speed. He brought his attention back to Saiban and started delivering punches as the young fighter was pinned between the pillar and Vegeta. The older one is quicker than he looks. Vegeta thought between punches. I need to eliminate one of these guys. Otherwise, if they're both this fast, it will be difficult to fight them both at once. Somehow Saiban found the will to block one of the strikes, blocking a punch with his hand cupping Vegeta's fist. Vegeta strained, surprised that the young combatant wasn't succumbing to his hard punches. Saiban gripped Vegeta's other fist and tightened his grip, neutralizing the prince. Saiban jumped up and pressed his feet against the pillar, driving Vegeta down into the hard stone. The timing of Saiban's resurgence couldn't be worse as Acid shook off his pain and stood up. He saw Vegeta lying prone and ran in to help his comrade. On his final step to rejoin the fight, Acid recoiled his leg back and delivered a brutal kick to the side of Vegeta's head, sending him rolling dangerously close to the edge of the ring. Bulma felt her eyes begin to get watery as she watched her husband struggle to stand up after the kick. Even from her safety in the skybox above the ring she could see his blood begin to spill out. Acid and Saiban angrily walked up to Vegeta and began to stomp on him, moving from his upper chest to his abdomen then his legs, repeating the cycle of beatings at a rapid pace. This was no longer a fight between skilled martial artists, this was more akin to a back alley mugging. This can't be happening, she thought as she held her hands to her mouth. Snow's grin spread as he watched Bulma grow quiet, reveling in her despair. Now it was Vegeta's turn to block a strike. He quickly grabbed Acid's boot and shoved it to the side, getting in the way of Saiban's stomps. Both men fell over in a heap as Vegeta struggled to stand up again. Vegeta! Goku called out to him, holding out his hand. We can tag in and out. Tag me in. Vegeta spat blood out to the side of the ring and finally stood up. This fight wasn't for him. He wasn't going to take the beating and die honorably like the old Vegeta would have. He was going to live and win, for Bulma and Trunks. A chance to rest and recover sounded appealing as well. Oh no you don't, Snow cried as he saw Vegeta inching closer to Goku's outstretched hand. You're done, Vegeta. The only way Goku is coming in is if you're dead. He angrily stood up and went to the side of his throne. He reached inside a cabinet and produced a dark object. He walked over and threw the black object to his two fighters who were just finally starting to stand up. Hey! Goku shouted angrily. I remember you saying no weapons. What's the point of making rules if you don't have to follow them? Here I am God. Rules apply to you but not me. Snow sneered back at Goku as he sat back on his throne. I'll change them as much as I want. And you will follow them. Or else everyone dies. Acid was the first to make it to his feet. He stumbled over to the object Snow had just thrown in the ring. It was a black, cylindrical object in a cloth sheath. He quickly unsheathed the object, revealing a hammer. He gripped the base of the weapon and walked over to Vegeta, who was closer to tagging Goku in. It's over for you, little guy, Acid barked as he held the hammer up before driving it into the side of Vegeta's head with as much force as he could draw out. How can you help us? Trunks asked, somewhat skeptical of this new ally. Sayota stepped out of his cell and began to stretch his legs. Ah, yes. It feels good to walk for more than a few steps. I hope I can still fight, or remember how to fight, he said after finishing his stretches. Oh, you asked me a question. How can I help? I know the layout of the place. It's not like I haven't been stuck here for years or anything. I know where Snow's machine that drains all the ki is. The ki neutralizer. If we destroy that, we can destroy Snow and his roster of fighters. I know I can hold my own with Snow's guys, but after seeing your friend's strength, I think the two of you will easily annihilate the bastard and all his men. You said a bad word. Goten snickered. Trunks shrugged. Nothing I haven't heard my dad say. Oh yeah, how rude of me to be profane around kids. However will you live? Sayota remarked sarcastically. Speaking of that, where are your parents anyway? We don't know, Trunks answered. We were out shopping with our moms and then the next thing we knew, they were gone and we woke up here. Sayota began to lean against the wall. I don't see a lot of guests here, so it's always a big event when someone new shows up, but earlier I did see two women on the way to be, processed for our fearless leader Snow. Hopefully those two aren't related to you guys. I wouldn't want to be them. The boy's eyes went wide. What? Goten cried. What did they look like? And what do you mean processed? Trunks asked. I only saw the blue-haired one. I couldn't get a look of the other chick. Sayota said, trying to recall more details of their appearances. And as for the answer to question 2. How do I explain this to a kid? Let's just say knowing Snow as well as I do. He likely does not have good intentions for your moms, and the sooner we find them, the sooner we can get them away from Snow. What's he gonna do to them? Goten nervously asked. All I'll say is this. Due to his issue getting rejected all the time because he's an insufferable prick, Snow decided to keep your moms to himself. So, unless you want him to be your new dad, we better get going and shut off that machine so we can fight him. And of course, I will help. Oh no, he is dead when I see him, Trunks said angrily as Goten nodded in agreement. Sayota smiled. Well, we all hate Mr. Snow. If we have that in common, then we can all be friends. The ki neutralizer is under the ring. Makes sense, right? Then he can pull all the energy of foreign fighters down there. I can get us to the machine, so we best get moving. The two boys quickly followed the mysterious fighter as he made his way down the corridor. Trunks' heart sank for a moment as they walked down the dark path. He began to sense his father's ki for the first time in what felt like ages, and it was low, a far cry from the legendary levels of power that he normally sensed when his dad was around. You good, Pinky? Sayota asked, noticing his anxiety. No. Trunks muttered. I just sensed that my dad is here and he's in trouble. Odd that you can still sense him, although there are spots in this place that the ki neutralizer isn't the strongest, so occasionally it's possible to sense other people here. I take it your fathers are fighters too? Yes. Goten answered as Trunks stayed quiet. They're the strongest fighters in the universe. Sayota chuckled. That's what they all say. But then again, Snow does bring in some respectable fighters from time to time. The rumor going around is that he's trying to get some Saiyan warriors to compete for him. But that's impossible, the Saiyans are all extinct. They're not extinct. Trunks finally spoke. Our dads are Saiyans. And Goten and me are half Saiyan. Sayota stopped in his tracks. You know, if any other person said that, I would laugh at them, but after what I've seen you guys do, it all makes sense. I'll be damned, some Saiyans still exist after all. He turned to Trunks. We really need to destroy the neutralizer now, because if you sense that your dad is hurting, that means the machine is working. His energy is being sucked out and Snow is getting the upper hand. I know for a fact Snow's guys all gobble up performance-enhancing substances like candy too, so that ain't helping matters. If Saiyans are losing, then we won't stand a chance either. Let's go then. What are we waiting for? Goten cried out, and the trio started running, not wanting to waste another second. Unbeknownst to them, a shadowy figure took a swig from his drink and slowly began to follow them down the corridor towards the ki neutralizer. Vital looked out the window of the ship and was met with only blackness. She felt if she went outside, she would blend in with her red shirt and black leggings. Their landing had just commenced, ending a tense ride to this unknown world. She turned back to Gohan and Krillin, who were sitting by the ship's controls. Are you sure we're here? Gohan nodded. Positive, The interstellar Dragon Ball radar says the ball that Dad left behind is a few steps ahead. Krillin sighed. All I wanted was a peaceful weekend alone with 18 and Marin. And now here I am in the far reaches of space saving my friends from mortal peril. Come on, Krillin. Gohan said with a shrug. Out of everyone left, you have the most experience traveling in space. If you didn't come with, you'd have to keep watch over Earth in case something happens while we're gone like Piccolo's doing now. You'd be bored to death right now. Vital rolled her eyes. And we didn't force you to come. A few hours ago, you said you wanted to get out of the house for a little. Yeah, for a little. Not a multi-hour voyage. Before Krillin could finish complaining, the lights inside the ship began to flicker. Gohan and Krillin both stood up, watching the lights continue to flicker. Soon the ship let out a loud whir and the group was enveloped in darkness. That can't be good. Gohan muttered. I felt my ki dropping as soon as we entered the atmosphere. I think whatever is draining me is also what drained the ship's power. It's been working fine all day otherwise. Krillin attempted to turn the ship's computer back on to troubleshoot. Well, this is just terrific. The ship's dead. We're stuck in this creepy place now. Vital began to make her way to the ship's exit and gave the door a push so she could step outside. Well, no use in sitting around in here. Come on, we got a family to rescue. Krillin began to follow behind her. Well, your wife sure is enthusiastic about this situation. I wish I could say the same. Same here. Gohan said under his breath as he joined him exiting. The two caught up with Vital, taking in the sights or lack thereof of the unusual new planet. The only source of light was coming from a towering building in the distance. That was no doubt the headquarters of the Ampheta organization. The group began to head over to the dimly light structure. Vital was the first to the giant gate. Looks like Snow doesn't want any visitors right now, Gohan remarked as he sized up the massive entrance that was closed off. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a familiar orange sphere sitting at the corner of the gate, the unmistakable 3-star Dragon Ball. Vital walked over and picked it up. We are definitely in the right place at least, she said, handing the ball to Krillin, who tossed it in his backpack. Now how do we get inside? Well, any energy attacks are out of the question, Krillin answered. I can't draw any energy up, otherwise I'd have this baby blasted open already. I guess we gotta do things the hard way, Gohan added as he walked up to the gate. He squatted down and gripped the edge of the gate. He attempted to lift it open, immediately struggling with the shocking weight of the entrance. Krillin. He strained to get out. I could use a hand over here. The diminutive fighter sped over and joined Gohan in lifting the gate up. What the? There's no way this thing is that heavy. This is as high as I can get it, Gohan responded, holding the gate just above his ankles, and I don't know if I can hold it. Vital quite literally saw an opening and began to jog up to the two men. She slid underneath the gate, startling both Krillin and Gohan, who dropped the gate and fell back. Vital! Gohan cried out after dusting himself off. He then heard the sound of gears turning in machinery. The gate began to retract upwards and Vital was soon standing behind the gate. What happened to work smarter, not harder? She teased, gesturing over to a computer terminal by the gate. This thing was being held down with gravity locks. Mr. Snow really doesn't want anyone getting inside. Well, sucks to be him. Gohan and Krillin walked inside. Time is running out, he said, taking in the dark hallways that split off into two paths. We are more likely to find everyone if we split into groups. Vital, let's look for Goten and Trunks. Krillin, you look for Mom and Bulma. Then we can all meet back here and look for Dad and Vegeta once we find everyone. Vital nodded and followed her husband down the shadowy concourse, leaving Krillin alone at the entrance. He wiped sweat from his brow and took in a deep breath. I'm just one man. What do you mean split into groups? Krillin asked as his friends headed off before letting out a sigh. And now I get to explore this creepy place all by myself. This day just keeping's getting better, he thought after shaking off some apprehension. He began to head down the opposite walkway. After sprinting deeper into the bowels of the compound, the group of Trunks, Goten and their new friend Sayoda finally reached their destination, the room housing the key neutralizer. Sayoda looked at the entrance, an apprehensive look on his face. Not locked. I'm not liking this. Why not? Goten asked. If you haven't noticed yet, this place is extremely secure. It's very difficult to get in here or get out. And the door to this key neutralizer is wide open. Be ready to fight. I would bet someone's in there guarding the machine. Both boys nodded, giving Seota the signal to enter. He entered a command on the wall console and the doors slid open. The three crept inside slowly. The room was poorly lit, only illuminated by colored light in the middle of the massive room shooting off from a machine in the center. That had to be the key neutralizer. The machine was 3 stories high, with guardrails on each platform. A bright orange aura was at the top of the machine. It appeared to be a visualization of energy being sucked inside the machine. The colors periodically changed as they shot into the ceiling. The light was being shot up onto where the stadium was above the machine. The light was making a loud humming sound, drawing the glowing colors into a large cylinder. Seota looked back to his Saiyan hybrid companions. Now the question is, how do we destroy it? Before the boys could answer, the entire room lit up. Seota, Trunks and Goten turned to the entrance and saw an older humanoid standing there, liquor bottle in hand. What the hell are you doing here, Seota? The man shrieked. Seota glared back at him. What a disappointment to see you're still alive, Jarek. Seota yelled back. He turned and started to loosen his wrist joints. I suppose now will be a good time to change that. I've been waiting to get my hands on you since you tipped Snow off to my hatred of him and his company. Goten and Trunks followed suit and assumed their fighting stances. Seota chugged his liquor bottle and smashed it on the ground, his frown remaining. Ah, and I see you befriended the Saiyan's brats. That's good. Mr. Snow wants me to eliminate them as well, and I got some help. As soon as Jarek finished his sentence, 2 smaller fighters joined him. The 2 looked to be identical twins, both with dark long hair, but one with pale blue skin and the other with light red skin. The 2 were smaller but still looked somewhat imposing as fighters. Cocky expressions on both of their faces. Remember the brothers? The illustrious Kuka and the fearsome Manga? Jarek said, introducing the 2 as they made bizarre flexing poses during when their respective names were called. You're dealing with Mr. Snow's personal fixers and the greatest 2-man team of fighters of all time. I would say with me fighting alongside them, we're something of a dream team. You stupid idiots don't stand a chance. All I see is 3 clowns. And you know what? I was never scared of going to the circus. Seota spat back. A smug grin formed on Jarek's face as he and the brothers assumed fighting stances. Then let's do this. Jarek shot forward at Seota as Kuka charged at Trunks and Manga at Goten. All 6 fighters began to trade punches and kicks at high levels of speed, evenly matched for now. Acid looked down at his unconscious opponent as blood started to pour out of the side of his head onto the tiles of the ring. Looks like you sprung a leak, pal. He observed. Too bad I ain't a plumber. I can't do nothing to help ya, hey. Vegeta lay in the ring motionless after the brutal hammer shot to the head. Acid and Saiban embraced on their corner of the ring. It seemed as though they got their boss the victory that he desired and now was their time to celebrate. The automated referee moved in position to start the 10 count. Ha! Good one, Acid. Snow cackled obnoxiously. I guess you, Jarek, and me aren't the only ones that like getting hammered. What happens if he doesn't get up? Goku thought to himself. Come on, Vegeta. 1. The automated count started. 1 Saiyan down, 1 to go. Snow said to himself. This is good, but I want to savor this moment. He began to pull slightly on Bulma's chain, but she was unfazed, too fixated on her husband lying in the ring. 2. Vegeta. Please get up. She thought to herself, her heart beginning to sink. She was quickly jolted out of her trance by a stronger pull of her chain. She glared back at her captor. He's done. It's okay, dear. You'll get over him soon enough. Snow taunted. I'll treat you so well you'll forget all about that filthy Saiyan. Bulma looked down at her husband lying unconscious. She had been optimistic earlier, but seeing what was happening to Goku and Vegeta was making her feel more and more hopeless and powerless. Not to mention not having a clue what was happening to Trunks, who had never left her mind either. Those feelings were starting to become overwhelming. Chi-Chi looked over at her friend, trying to offer her support and sympathy with her expression. But there was no denying Chi-Chi felt equally as powerless as Bulma did. Snow was reveling in Bulma's sorrow. You're not so confident now, are you? Huh? You won't backtalk me again. I always win. He gestured her over to a tray near his throne. It's time for you to get back to your servitude. Go fetch me that. Slave Bulma. What's inside it will enhance your former husband's demise, for me of course. Bulma loudly sighed, not trying to mask her annoyance and growing hatred for Snow. She stood up and walked over to the silver tray next to his throne. She couldn't see what was inside due to a matching silver lid. She brought it over to Snow, who eagerly removed the lid, carelessly tossing it to the side. Inside was a silver bowl of white powder and what looked like a handle for a blade. She thought, rubbing her sore neck while she sat back down. What kind of metal is this collar made of? It's so thick, there has to be a way to get this thing off. Excited, Snow began to pour the white powder out into a line and picked up the handle. A small, purple beam shot out so that the promoter could cut up the powder into lines without wasting a single grain of whatever the substance was. Plugging one of his nostrils, he leaned down and snorted the line. He recoiled back, a look of ecstasy on his face as he let the substance take hold. Bulma looked back at the disgusting display of excess. But the device Snow was using to cut his powder with caught her attention. That could be useful if she could get her hands on it. Oh yes. He moaned. This is the greatest day of my life. I had my fighters, my Ampheta fighters kill not one but two Saiyans and I walk out with their wives, who both happen to be gorgeous. The only thing Ampheta is suffering from is success. I hope our fans aren't too loud for you ladies. What fans? Chi-Chi piped up, confused. Snow turned to look at her, he looked incapable of blinking. Can't you see them all? Snow asked her. All my adoring Ampheta fans always show up once I get my white lightning. Another sold-out show tonight. Bulma and Chi-Chi looked at each other, bewildered how much more unhinged their captor was acting after taking the strange white powder. Snow hunched over his tray to inhale another line of the powder, not feeling satisfied with just one hit. As he was inhaling, Vegeta began to stir. He strained and pressed down on the metal tiles of the ring, slowly pushing himself upright as the count reached 8. Bulma noticed his movements out of the corner of her eye and quickly turned her attention back to him. Snow was more interested on ingesting more of his powder than whatever was going on in his ring. Chi-Chi joined her in silent anticipation as Vegeta got to his feet and started to inch towards Goku. Acid and Saiban looked over, surprised that he made it up in time before the count finished. Vegeta continued to creep over to Goku, blood dripping from the gash on his forehead onto the tiles. Goku stood close to the edge of his waiting platform. That's it Vegeta. Just get me in and rest up, I'll take care of these guys. Snow finally looked up from his powder and his mood shifted. Don't just stand there, you morons, he called to Acid and Saiban. Finish him off so we can end this already. Acid raised his hand while Saiban remained in place, holding onto his hammer. I got this, I am getting tired anyway. I wonder if the bars are still open. He caught up with the slower Vegeta and grabbed his white boot, tripping up the Saiyan Prince. You're not going anywhere, little man. Acid taunted, except the afterlife. No. Goku shouted. Damn it. He was so close. Vegeta. Bulma whimpered up in the skybox, her eyes growing watery. Chi-Chi put her head down. She didn't like seeing Vegeta's beat down either and she hated seeing how much this fight was hurting Bulma. Now she was beginning to dread when her own husband would fight again. The most torturous part of all was being powerless to help. Acid began to reel back, preparing to toss Vegeta out of the ring. This will be a nice notch in my belt. Not many can say they've defeated a Saiyan, let alone their prince. Vegeta's eyes slowly opened, and he pulled his leg back. You haven't defeated me yet, you damned inebriate. With that, Vegeta pushed back against Acid with what strength he had left, sending him crashing into the stone across the ring next to his partner Saiban. Vegeta stumbled to his feet again and leapt towards the waiting platform, reaching his hand into the barrier to let Goku in to fight. Gosh darn it all, this isn't how it's supposed to go, Snow screamed, realizing what just happened. Yes. Goku exclaimed as he raced in, quickly assuming his fighting stance. He turned over to his partner who was now at rest. Great job Vegeta. Vegeta slumped down on the platform, his breathing labored. Just finish the job, Kakarot. Make them pay. Bulma and Chi-Chi's hearts raced as they could see that Vegeta was safe and Goku was now the fresh man in the fight. Acid stood up and shook his head, unaware that he was now fighting a new opponent. Goku struck him first, pummeling him with a punch to the side of his head, sending him crashing into a corner pillar. Saiban began to charge Goku, hammer raised in his hand, but Goku anticipated his attack. He dodged Saiban's strike with the hammer as he crashed the weapon into the floor, creating a small crater. Before Saiban realized he missed his target, Goku tossed the hammer into empty seats surrounding the ring. "I've had enough of your dirty tricks," Goku said as Saiban collected himself. The young fighter scowled at Goku and reeled back, about to deliver a punch. Goku was too quick for him, threw and blocked the punch by grabbing his fist. "You still got a lot to learn," Goku said to him, as he tightened the grip on Saiban's fist, causing him to scream out in pain. Goku tossed Saiban into acid, who's still in the corner. More cracks formed in the pillar as Saiban slammed into acid, leaving both men in a heap. Goku looked back at Vegeta to check in on him. He was now standing up, clutching at his arm and still bleeding from the gash on his head. Goku knew Vegeta well enough to see that he was beginning to somewhat recover. He also noticed that Snow had forgotten to put the tag barrier up to prevent the fighter who wasn't tagged in to help out. That could come in handy should Vegeta recover enough. Goku made a quick mental note of that before turning his attention back to Acid and Saiban. Goku put his hand around Saiban's sweat-drenched curly hair and lifted him up. "It's really a shame that you chose to fight for these guys. You got a lot of potential," he said quietly, feeling some pity for the young fighter choosing this path. Saiban weakly tried to spit at Goku, tiny droplets of his blood staining his orange GI. "Go to hell, Goku. I'm an Ampheta Elite for life." Goku shook his head, disappointed. "If you say so." Goku stepped back and lifted his knee up, driving his knee into Saiban's jaw. This time he aimed his hit so that his opponent would fly out of the ring onto the floor. "Ring out," the automated referee declared. What? Snow was still in shock at how quickly the tide had turned against him. Goku looked down at Acid, who was still crouched down at the corner pillar. He gripped Acid's wrist and then looked over to Vegeta, who was standing up. It was almost like Goku and Vegeta had a mental link from all the training they did together, and he soon realized that Goku wanted him to help out. Goku swiftly tossed Acid in Vegeta's direction. Vegeta locked his fingers together as if he was holding an axe and drove his locked fists down on Acid, volleying him outside the ring on the opposite side of where Saiban was lying. Both men heard a satisfying call from the official, "Ring out." "You cannot be serious right now," Snow said, stunned. Bulma and Chi-Chi struggled to contain their joy, hoping Snow wouldn't notice how their emotions had gone from hopeless to celebratory. "I figured you'd want to be the one to eliminate him after that cheap shot with the weapon," Goku said to Vegeta, who half smiled. "HMPH. Vegeta snorted. He traced his gloved hand over his head to feel the extent of the damage from the hammer shot and winced. "You assume correctly, Kakarot. I thank you for that." Snow stood up. Livid things weren't going his way. "You two cheated," he shrieked from his perch above the ring, his shrill screech reverberating throughout the empty arena. "Not once did you mention in your stupid rules anything about the resting fighter getting involved," Vegeta responded, wiping blood from his mouth. "You were too overly stimulated up there to put up the barrier. I'd say my elimination was fair game. So don't blame me for your incompetence." The unhinged promoter did not bother acknowledging his mistake. Instead, he looked over at Acid and Saiban lying unconscious on the ground. "I never do anything wrong," he yelled. "My fighters failed me. I don't like them anymore. I don't need them." Snow activated a control on his throne, causing the floor where his fallen fighters were lying to glow. To Goku and Vegeta's surprise, he had both Acid and Saiban ground into energy while they were lying down defenseless. Snow sat back down on his throne, pouting and plotting his next move. "I would just say to hell with it and kill you both right now, but that would be too easy. I want to see you both suffer. And I have one more fighter left. He is my strongest fighter and the defending champion of the Ampheta organization." He violently pulled back the chains of his captives once again, their metal collars cutting off their airflow. "And I want my wives to watch their former husbands suffer and die. I think the memory of both of your deaths, your painful deaths, would help making them permanently subservient to me." He finally released them both, leaving them catching to catch their breath. "If only I knew where your brats were, I'd have them executed on the spot first. Actually, I am a bit concerned that no one's reported on their status. No matter, it's time for you to meet my champion. The man who will make your final moments the most agonizing moments of your entire lives." Goku glared up at Snow, who was flanked by Chi-Chi and Bulma. He was beginning to stroke their exposed shoulders, causing both women to wince. If there was any time they could squirm away, Now would be ideal, but there was nowhere to recoil away to. No matter how much you stack the deck against us, we will keep finding a way to win. Goku yelled up at him, more rage coursing through his body seeing him touching Chi-Chi. This is your last chance, Snow. Let us and our families leave. You're such a moron to ask that again, Snow chided. Because the answer is going to be the same. No, my champion will finish the job. He is my champion for a reason. He is the best of the best, the elite of the elite. Your overconfidence will be your downfall, Vegeta added. Snow let out an obnoxious laugh. Coming from you, that's truly hilarious. Don't worry, Vegeta, you'll get your turn to die soon enough. Although I am a little surprised Goku gets to die before you. You hyped up each of your fighters as being so great and we've defeated them all. Vegeta shot back. And now only one remains. Once I recover, Kakarot and I are going to end you. Snow giggled obnoxiously and gave Bulma a chain pull. This always seemed to get these Saiyan opponents to be silenced. Vegeta held his arm, more blood dripping down his face. He felt angry at the situation and at himself. Had he stayed quiet as he had most of the fights, Bulma wouldn't be in her current uncomfortable position. His attention turned to a figure walking out of the entrance tunnel. Clad in an elastic-looking gray and black jacket, another humanoid emerged from the shadows. This one with light purple skin, blonde curly hair and some facial hair scruff on his face. This fighter had an emotionless expression, nothing like the other fighters who seemed more confident. This competitor also appeared to be the smallest out of all the fighters they had faced so far. I'm getting Frieza vibes from this guy, Goku thought. He looks small, but I feel like he's hiding his true power, even without any ki. He's the champion of this league for a reason. Snow brushed his hand on Bulma's shoulder. Go run to my tray again, dear. I want to enjoy this fight in style. She angrily got up and walked over to the tray. This has to end. I can't take much more of this. Bulma picked up a silver container and glass of wine before heading back to her captor. She handed him the items which he set aside before pulling her up on his lap. Bulma froze up as he pulled her closer to him. With one arm wrapped around her waist, Snow used his free arm to open a container which was full of small white pills. He downed the entire container and chased the pills down with a swig of wine. This is going to be really great, Snow said as the ecstasy kicked in, his pupils becoming smaller while he reveled in the effects. Let's finish this. Snow continued. Standing now in the ring, known across the universe by his stage name Angel Dust, the champion of the illustrious Ampheta fighting organization, I give to you, Karina. He is the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be. Vegeta strained and sat up, wiping blood from his head. Somehow I doubt all that, he thought to himself. The mysterious fighter posed as his announcement finished, raising his right arm, holding his hand out and pointing at Goku with his other arm. Maybe he's more of a Ginyu Force guy with the posing, Goku thought. Before Goku had a chance to plan a strategy, he looked to his side and somehow Karina was already on the offensive. Goku felt pain in the back of his head before falling to the floor. He didn't even realize the fight had started. Goku rolled to the other side of the ring. Out of everyone we've fought, he might be the fastest. He could very well hang with me and Vegeta at our base forms. Trying to begin his own offense, Goku got to his feet and jumped towards Karina, attempting a flying kick to the face. Karina dodged it and wrapped his arm around Goku's chest, locking it on the side and slamming Goku back onto the ring. This is going to be harder than I expected. Fighting a guy of this level without ki is like starting over, like learning how to fight again from the very beginning. Goku leaped up again and went back on offense, throwing punches and kicks at Karina at high speed while he shockingly blocked and dodged each one. Snow pulled on Chi-Chi's chain, earning her a glare back in his direction. All this fighting is making me tense. A neck rub would help me a lot. Get behind me, slave Chi-Chi, and get to work. If you comply, it will help your husband's chances in this fight. Chi-Chi didn't give him an answer outside of angrily standing up and walking behind the throne. She sensed he was ogling her with her back turned to him as she passed. She saw him doing the same thing to Bulma plenty of times already. She began to give her arrogant captor the lightest rub she could, but he seemed to be enjoying it due to his weak stature and possibly due to the pills he just took. He pushed Bulma back onto the pillows at his feet while sprawling out. I am excited in so many ways for our future together. He began. Here I am God and you two shall be my goddesses. Emphasis on the my part because you two belong to me. You are both mine. It's going to be great. It's going to be like this every day. Before you know it, these fights will be over. Your former husbands and sons will be dead. Your old lives will be gone with them. Your new lives with me will finally begin. I will flaunt you two beauties all over the universe at all my parties and galas. Everyone will be so jealous of my sexy wives. Chi-Chi's brows furrowed and she dug into him slightly harder. I really hate this little weasel. He never shuts up. Oh, see that room back there? Those are my quarters. You'll be quite familiar with that room soon, if you know what I mean. Wait till you see my wardrobe, Snow continued as he closed his eyes and gestured to a wooden door. I got more outfits to put on you too. The ones you have on now are a bit too conservative. We'll try some other outfits tomorrow. And more jewelry too. Oh, deciding which outfits and jewels to put on my wives. What a great problem to have. I just can't wait for our futures together. I'm picturing our honeymoon after the wedding. I got some tropical beaches in mind. Then we can work on creating me some heirs. Chi-Chi began to grit her teeth and tightened her grip. Just stop blabbing already. I need to decide where we'll go. I know so many places. Has to be somewhere tropical, with a pool. Yes, I can picture it now. I'll be poolside with my two wives, drink in one hand and more white lightning in the other. I am the best thing that's ever happened to you girls. I will show you resorts almost as beautiful as the two of you. If you never were wed to me, there's no chance you'd ever see these places. I can give you everything they have failed to give you. With my wealth I'll spoil you both to make you such happy wives of mine. You don't need your stupid former husbands or stupid sons anyway. All you need is Snow and they'll all be Diao. Snow felt a strong grip on his side as Chi-Chi began to dig into him. You did that on purpose, he yelled at her. He turned to his console and pressed a button. Chi-Chi's chain mechanically began to retract to the front of the throne. She stumbled with it to not get dragged. Goku stepped back to his corner, looking up at the commotion up in the skybox while Karina did the same. That's it. Rules are changing, Snow said angrily while entering commands into his throne's computer. Vegeta can join in without tagging and it's sudden death rules now. Uma looked over and nodded from a control room next to the throne. The outer ring turned the bright green color it had before. Bulma made a mental note of this. She hadn't noticed this control room until now. That's right, Snow said in Chi-Chi's direction. Whoever falls out of the ring next gets grounded into energy. This is all your fault. I can't wait to watch you cry once your idiot former mate perishes. Then you can finish my massage. Chi-Chi slumped down, panic setting in as she began to realize the gravity of her resistance to Snow. What have I done? I was doing so good ignoring his obnoxious comments, but now Goku is in more trouble and it's all my fault. Snow angrily grabbed a wine bottle by the side of his throne and took a long swig. He tossed the bottle into the stands, shattering it. Go get me more, he commanded to Bulma. She scampered off, alarmed by his aggressive tone. Snow turned his attention back to Karina. And you, Dust. You can throw either of these Saiyans out whenever you please, but do one thing for me. Make them suffer for a while. I know you're holding back. Show them your full power. Make their final moments as agonizing as possible. Karina nodded, before changing his stance and charging towards Goku before the Saiyan had a chance to react. He leapt up and drove both of his boots into Goku's chest, sending him crashing into a corner pillar. Chi-Chi watched on in horror as Bulma placed Snow's wine on his throne. You know what? I've changed my mind, he said, looking at the bottle disinterested. Get me more of my white lightning. Don't worry, you won't miss out on watching your former husband's death. It's coming up. Bulma rolled her eyes as she walked back to the bar behind the throne with all of Snow's substances and liquids. But deep down, she feared watching Vegeta get back into the fight. Especially after the pummeling he took in his last bout. She wasn't looking forward to going through all that again. It was bad enough seeing Goku getting hurt. Goku was slow to get up from being driven into the pillar, holding his ribs after the hard blow. His orange outer shirt was now more damaged from the hit. This Karina guy may be as strong as I am in my base form, he thought, wiping blood from his lip. I gotta give him some credit for getting this strong without needing to use key attacks. I sure wish I could transform right about now. This isn't looking good. Goten, Trunks and Seiya all stepped back, the three of them breathing heavily. Their fights against the brothers and Jarek had been a stalemate so far. Seota was rusty from fighting, having been imprisoned for months. He had wanted to get his hands on the obnoxious Jynweythek for years, and he was growing frustrated with the veteran's endurance. Goten and Trunks found out that they were evenly matched at their base forms with the brothers Kuka and Manga. "I must say, I am impressed with you guys," Seota said to Goten and Trunks in between breaths. "You're both abnormally strong for kids." "Thanks," Trunks said quickly. "If we could use ki, all three of these guys would be dead already." Seota looked over to the ki neutralizer looming next to them. "Maybe we should change targets for a bit so that can happen." "Or we should fuse?" Goten asked Trunks. "Do y'all think as Gotenks we'd be stronger than all three of them?" "I know we'd be stronger than all three of them if we fused," Trunks answered quickly without giving the idea any thought. "Fuse?" Seota looked over confused. "What the hell are you talking about?" Before either Goten or Trunks could answer, all six combatants' attention was turned to the door to the outside corridor opening and two figures standing in the shadows. "Get out right now," Jynweythek yelled. "We're taking care of some intruders." "Goten? Trunks?" a familiar voice called. Gohan and Videl walked in despite the protests from Jynweythek. "Gohan!" Goten cried out, losing focus on the battle and running towards his brother. He embraced both Gohan and Videl the moment he reached them. "How did you find us?" Goten asked, hardly containing his joy. "Don't worry about that now, it looks like you were in the middle of something," Gohan said, sizing up all the new faces in the room. "Are any of them friendly?" "Just him," Trunks answered, pointing to Seota, who waved awkwardly at his new allies. "We were in the middle of destroying that thing," Seota said, looking over at the ki neutralizer. "My new friends tell me you guys are all ki users. Well, you may have noticed you can't use ki here. Well, it's because of that thing. You destroy that machine and you can use your ki again. Got it?" Jynweythek began to sweat. He hadn't anticipated this sudden change. "Time out," he screeched before huddling up with the brothers. "I got a feeling Big Brother over there has a lot of energy." Jynweythek peeked out of the huddle back at Gohan. "Imagine if we could get him dissolved. Boss would give us a nice bonus if we could get him up to the void vacuum." "The energy all goes to the same place, down to storage," Kuka said to himself as his brother nodded. "Follow my lead, boys. I have an idea," Jynweythek said. He began to turn back to the group's opponents and walk towards them. "I'm really sorry, you guys. This is all one big misunderstanding," he started as his face contorted into a bizarre smile. "Seota is the only bad apple here. We don't want violence either. He starts fights all the time. That's why boss locked him up. He's a cancer to the Ampheta organization." Seota rolled his eyes and crossed his arms. He looked over to Gohan. "I wouldn't listen to this guy. He's the biggest rat here, literally and figuratively." "See?" Jynweythek cried out. "He's already being mean and hurting my feelings. I'd never do that. I am a star athlete around these parts. My name's Jynweythek. I've been fighting here for years, and I've been Ampheta organization champion many times. Maybe you can win the big belt someday yourself, young man. What's your name?" Jynweythek reached out his arm to Gohan, his strange smile growing. I'm Gohan," Gohan said as he took Jynweythek's pudgy hand for a light shake. "That's such a cool name," Manga said from behind while Kuka put his thumbs up while nodding excessively and grinning. "Yeah, it is," Jynweythek concurred before walking over to Videl, looked unimpressed with him. "And this must be your wife? Girlfriend? Sister?" "Don't worry about her," Gohan interrupted, not liking the look Jynweythek was giving Videl. "What's your deal? Why don't you want to fight anymore?" "Hi, young lady, don't want to talk to me?" Jynweythek asked Videl, ignoring Gohan. "Well, you look like you fight too, just like me. Could you at least show me a little respect for a veteran and shake my hand?" She looked down at Jynweythek's outstretched hand. Before she could answer, she felt a fist driven into the space between her eyes and fell down onto the cold floor. "Videl!" Gohan yelled out as he crouched over her. She was in a daze from the cheap hit. Meanwhile, Jynweythek ran up the stairs of the machine in the room. "Haha, I bet you really want to fight me now, don't ya, big guy?" Jynweythek yelled, his self-congratulatory expression looking natural now. "Come and get some, you're so slow. I bet I could come down and get another shot in on that broad." Gohan's eyes narrowed as he set Videl down. She wasn't terribly hurt, but she was clearly too stunned to fight at the moment. He looked over to Goten and Trunks. "You guys keep an eye on her, I'm finishing that guy right now." The young Saiyan hybrid dashed up the stairs to confront Jarek. Sayoda followed to help Gohan and more importantly to keep fighting Jarek, but he was intercepted by the brothers. "Sorry pal. No washed up prisoners allowed," Kuka snarked as he and his brother attempted to kick Sayoda in unison. For now, he was blocking and dodging their kicks. "You'll get your turn to get dissolved," Manga added. "We'll just tell Mr. Snow about your little escape and say we had to put you down like the dirty dog you are." Vital began to stir and sit up, rubbing the spot on her forehead where she got hit. "You okay, Vital?" Goten asked. I'll be okay. But I'm not letting that creep get away with that." She began to make her way up towards the machine before turning back to Sayoda's battle against the brothers, then back to Goten and Trunks. "Don't worry about me, your friend looks like he could use your help." Meanwhile, Jarek reached the top of the machine. He looked over and saw that Gohan was close to reaching the top to confront him. "What a dumbass," Jarek said under his breath. "This is going to be the easiest energy absorption of all time." The veteran combatant began to enter commands in a terminal at the top of a machine. As he finished, Gohan finally reached the top. "I don't know what kind of fighter you are, but you don't have any respect or honor to hit a defenseless opponent like you did," he yelled at Jarek, who was standing by the terminal looking unbothered. "Kid, you don't know anything about battle. There are no rules, anything goes, and you are about to learn that lesson the hard way." Before Gohan could respond, a white beam shot out of the machine at him, which caused his body to become paralyzed. The beam started to slowly drag Gohan towards a white portal emanating from the structure. "This guy has to be powerful," Jarek said to himself while Gohan struggled to get free. "I'm gonna get such a huge bonus from the boss for getting him stored." "Yeah, I doubt that," a female voice said behind Jarek. The veteran's expression changed from gloating to confusion as he turned around and saw Vital standing behind him. How did you?" he stammered. Vital grinned. "You should have paid attention. This thing has another set of stairs. And by the way, you punch like a weakling." Before Jarek could process what was happening, Vital drove her fist with all her might into Jarek's forehead, sending him tumbling to the ground. Jarek attempted to regain his balance but struggled. "That's how you punch someone. For a veteran, I thought you'd know that." Vital changed her stance. "In fact, your technique really sucks. I guess I'll teach the pro a lesson of my own." She began to charge towards Jarek and leapt into the air, driving her feet into his chest and launching him toward the beam from the machine that was still pulling Gohan in. Jarek got in the way of the beam and the white light began to wrap around him. Now, to his horror, Gohan gathered himself and realized he could move again. He saw Vital standing by the console. She smiled at him, and he returned the favor before turning his attention back to Jarek. He wound his fist back, launched it into Jarek's jaw, sending the weathered fighter flying into the white portal. He didn't even have a chance to scream. His body was disintegrated seconds before flying into the light. Vital looked over to Gohan and grinned. "And to think, you didn't want me to come with." Gohan chuckled at her teasing. "I'll never doubt you again, Vital." He directed his attention over to the terminal Vital was standing next to. His demeanor shifted to more serious. "It's time to end this." He dug his fingers into the sides of the monitor and wrenched it upwards, uprooting it from the wires and circuitry much like a plant being pulled out of a deep plot in the soil. The machine let out a low hum and the beams shooting up from the machine began to slowly fade. Goten, Trunks, Sayoda and the brothers paused from their battle and looked up from below at the sights and sounds above them. "That thing is going to take a while to fully shut down," Sayoda said to Goten and Trunks. "You guys are going to have to wait a little before we can use key attacks in full. I would guess you should be able to use entry-level abilities. Ya know, things that don't need a lot of ki." Goten tested this and began to hover above the ground. "We can fly again." Trunks soon joined Goten in flying around. Meanwhile, Kuka and Manga began to cower and slowly back up. Neither had the gift of flight, and the prospect of facing opponents with that ability only made their fear grow. Sayoda reveled in their terror as a grin spread across his face. "Ya know, I bet Jarek's lonely in that key neutralizer machine. Why don't you boys help him find some company?" The boys both understood the suggestion and made their way over to Kuka and Manga, who were starting to sweat and beginning to back up. Manga started, Wiping sweat from his forehead, "We never wanted to fight you, Mr. Snow made us." "Yeah. What he said," Kuka chimed in. "You should let us join your team." "Nah, you guys are cooked," Trunks said as he grabbed Kuka by the ankle and flew up to the top of the machine. Goten followed suit with manga and joined his friend by the glowing white portal on the highest level. The portal was starting to recede due to the machine shutting down, but there was still time to put it to use one last time. The brothers started to struggle frantically, tears falling from their eyes as the young Saiyan hybrids dropped them into the portal. They were quickly dissolved, joining their comrade Jarek as condensed energy. Goten and Trunks began to float back down to the ground level where Sayoda, Gohan and Videl were waiting for them. Goten began to drift to the side of the room, noticing various metal containers that piqued his curiosity. He saw a familiar shade of a purple peeking out of one of the containers. "We're all happy to see you guys, but there isn't much time to waste," Gohan began. "With that machine gone, I am starting to sense ki in this place, and I just sensed Dad and Vegeta. It's not looking good." "Why? What do y'all mean?" Trunks asked. His mood quickly changed from celebratory to worry. "They're both fading and fast. It feels like they've been fighting for a long time and they're starting to get fatigued." "I can sense ki too, you know." Sayoda cut in, "And yeah, I can tell those guys have both lost a lot of energy. And they have a stupid amount of energy. Who the hell are you people? How are you all this strong? Tell us who you are first." Videl answered, somewhat skeptical of their new ally. Before Sayoda could answer, Goten came running back to the group. "Gohan, look what I found." Gohan looked over to see what his brother was holding. It was a purple dress, one that looked very familiar. Gohan quickly realized it belonged to his mother. "Goten, where did you find this?" Gohan asked, staring at the clothing in his hands. "Over there," Goten answered, dashing back to storage containers on the side of the towering and now defunct ki neutralizer machine. Gohan, Videl and Sayoda followed to observe. Gohan looked through the container and found more items of clothing that looked immediately recognizable. He decided to look at the receptacle next over and found a high-end white shirt and designer blue jeans, definitely something Bulma would wear. "This is bad," he thought. What fate did his mother and Bulma meet? Were they dissolved? Or worse? Gohan felt anxiety rising just speculating on what could have possibly happened to his mother and Bulma. He couldn't pick up their key signatures. Granted, they were considerably lower most others in the building, so it would take time to be able to sense them. However, Gohan could sense his father, and he was hurting. Goku cried out as he took another kick to the side from Karina. Weariness from all of the fights was indeed setting in, and his opponent's unfair advantages were not helping matters. From performance-enhancing substances to Goku and Vegeta being sapped of their powers. Vegeta wiped blood from his forehead and continued to watch in disgust, feeling helpless. He needed more time to recover before he could contribute and help Goku. Otherwise, he'd just be getting in the way if he entered the fray now. He had taken worse beatings so far involving weapons among other things. Karina knew he could probably take Vegeta out if he wanted to, but he settled on finishing off Goku for now, who stubbornly refused to quit. Snow kicked back on his throne, clearly enjoying the beatdown his fighter was dishing out on Goku. He actually hoped this would last longer. He reveled in seeing the Saiyans be punished for denying a chance to fight for him, and even more so, he enjoyed watching their wives silently watch the carnage, scantily clad and chained in front of him with nowhere to run to. All while he consumed his white lightning powder and drank wine. It seemed as though the high would never end. That is until the heir to the Snow family fortune caught an unusual activity on the console on his throne. "Uma! Get the hell over here!" he barked at his assistant, who was in the adjacent control room. "Yes, sir," she said in her signature monotone as she stepped out. "What is going on with the key neutralizer?" he asked, fixated on his screen. "It's going dark. Why? Why would it do that?" "Perhaps a service outage? I will go down and troubleshoot," Uma offered. "No," Snow screeched. "I am the only one that knows how to run this place. If that thing isn't working, then we can't drain the energy out of these Saiyans, and I need to have their full power stored when this is all over. Contact the brothers and Jarek and tell them to accompany me there." Snow angrily got up as Uma went back to her post in the control room next. Snow approached the balcony angrily. "Take a break, Karina," he shouted down as Goku, Vegeta and Karina looked up. There's technical issues downstairs and I need to investigate it. Hold off on killing these Saiyans until I return. Karina nodded and walked over to the corner of the ring to wait while Goku struggled to stand up. Snow activated a control that closed off the balcony with a metallic curtain. He turned his attention back to his captive guests. It's almost all over now. Your former husbands are close to death, he said to them with a grin which was met with silence and scowls from the two women. When this curtain opens, the next thing you see will be their lives ending. Their demise. And the three of us can be together at last with no outside distractions. The women remained silent as Snow began to exit, mumbling to himself. I need more white lightning anyway. Why won't Jarek or the brothers answer my calls? His ramblings echoed down the hallways as he continued his departure. Chi-Chi folded her arms and looked to the side. So much for his vow to never leave our side. Bulma looked over at the tray next to the throne, empty of Snow's stimulants. However, still sitting on the edge of the tray was the device that Snow was using to cut his powder. Now was the time to see if her theory would work. No, I think we're getting out of here instead, Bulma said, causing Chi-Chi's ears to perk up. Can you reach his laser device? See if you can cut through your chain. Chi-Chi's heart raced at the prospect of freedom. She leaned back and reached for the device. Carelessly, Snow had left it close to the women. She activated it and held the small purple beam to the thick chain. Shockingly, a small cloud of smoke started to rise where the beam met the metal, and soon the chain fell to the floor, leaving a short length hanging from her collar. Not wasting any time, Chi-Chi tossed her chain behind her back and threw the gadget over to Bulma, who also quickly freed herself. The two women stood up and began to plot their next move. Finally, it's only been a day stuck here, but it felt like a lifetime in hell being chained up to that loser. Bulma whined, rubbing her neck. She grabbed the laser once again to shorten the length of her chain and not put so much weight on her neck. Chi-Chi placed her hands on her bare hips. But what do we do now? Goku and Vegeta are down there, but I don't know how we're going to get to them. Bulma thought for a moment. Before we do that, it'd ease my mind if we could shut down the machine that dissolves whoever falls out of the ring. I saw that it's being controlled in that room over there. Chi-Chi looked over at the room. The entryway was open, but it was dark inside, only illuminated by computer monitors. I can probably figure out how to shut it down. Can you watch my back? Bulma asked. Chi-Chi nodded. I'll be okay, just be careful in there. Bulma quickly ran inside the dark room. Almost instantly as she got in, the door to the corridor Snow had exited opened up, and to Chi-Chi's surprise their former captor came out, looking down at the ground and not noticing how the circumstances in his throne room were much different than when he left. I forgot how much of a walk the key neutralizer is. I don't want to walk that far, he grumbled to himself, still looking at the floor. And Jarek and the brothers won't answer me. I'll have them vaporized the moment I find them. I don't care. I can get new fighters to replace them. How much worse can things get? As soon as Snow finished his rant, he looked up to see Chi-Chi no longer chained to his throne. His heart sank and his lips began to tremble, causing her to smile devilishly. She had been imagining this moment and now it was reality. Why, you're not supposed to be there, he whimpered. The promoter tripped as he backed up. Chi-Chi's smile grew as she assumed a fighting stance, crouching down with her fist extended out. You thought Bulma and me were just two pretty faces that you could strip down, chain up and put in these awful, revealing outfits, then be submissive to you. She began as Snow continued to cower. But you were dead wrong about us both. You may have studied up on our husbands, but you didn't research us enough beyond our looks. If you did your homework on us, you'd know we're not just pretty faces. She's a genius and I know how to fight. Snow had nothing to say in response besides sniveling as tears streamed down his face. He stood up besides lifting his arms up in surrender. Chi-Chi continued to approach him. You may have all your riches, but you'll never get to experience the love between us and our husbands. That's something you can never buy. After what you did to them, and Cammy knows what you did to our boys, I'd say it's your turn for some punishment. Snow tripped on his feet again before quickly stepping back up. I'm sorry. You can leave, I guess. Just don't hurt him. The spoiled promoter wasn't even able to finish his plea as Chi-Chi struck him with a fist wrapped in the chain that was still hanging from her neck. Chi-Chi was surprised to see Snow fly into the wall from just one strike, but then again, he was a no fighter. Chi-Chi saw him moaning in pain and then went quiet. It seemed he was weak enough to be knocked out from one blow. She kicked aside several of his teeth that had been launched out from the impact. Chi-Chi looked down, smiled at him lying down as blood trickled from his forehead. Her satisfaction was short-lived though. Soon she heard the sound of glass breaking and a cry of terror in the control room. Bulma. Chi-Chi started to make her way to the control room in a panic. She ran inside the dark room and the first thing that caught her eye was the large window that had just been shattered overlooking the arena. She looked over and saw Bulma frantically entering commands in the master computer on the other side, her pale skin almost reflecting the glow of the monitor. Bulma looked over and screamed, seeing only Chi-Chi's shadow before recoiling into a defensive position. Her abrupt cries caused Chi-Chi to assume her fighting stance again, thinking there was someone behind then. Bulma looked up again from her arms, realizing it was only her friend. "Oh, it's just you, Chi-Chi," Bulma said with a sigh of relief before going back to her work shutting down the computer. "You almost made me faint." Chi-Chi chuckled at the misunderstanding before looking back to the shattered window. "What happened over there?" Yeah, about that. I forgot Snow's android. Miss Monotone was still in here," Bulma explained as she continued to type. "She saw me and didn't know what to do and just started at me for a while. It was so awkward. Then she just charged at me. All I did was duck and she tripped and fell out the window and got vaporized down there. Obviously not an android that's programmed to fight." Both women laughed. The situation they had both been in was finally taking a positive turn and the adrenaline of both of their small fights was still coursing through their bodies. The lights on terminal behind the computer began to fade and a loud vibration was heard outside the ring. "There," Bulma said while the computer screen went black. "That awful dissolving field outside the ring is shutting down. Now we don't have to worry about our men being falling into that thing anymore." Now Chi-Chi let out a breath, feeling her own ease. What now? She thought. I guess help Goku and Vegeta fight Snow's last guy. We won't be of much help, but 4 against 1 means the number is in our favor. Then find Goten and Trunks. I hope they're still okay. Before we do that, watch this. Bulma walked over to a shelf on the side of the computers and grabbed a bottle of wine. She popped the cork and dumped out the wine all over the computer as sparks flew out and smoke began to rise. Now that thing has zero chance of working again. Chi-Chi was happy with Bulma's enthusiasm but wanted more. Maybe it was the adrenaline. She ran out of the control room and re-entered carrying a weighted ball that had been used to guide them around the ring when they were forced to be ring girls while still chained up. She picked up the heavy ball and slammed it onto the console, demolishing it to Bulma's shock. Now it really won't work again, Chi-Chi said to her friend. Let's get out of here. We can at least regroup with Goku and Vegeta and see how they're doing. There has to be some way we can help them. Bulma stood up from her chair. Right, let's get going. She had been worrying about Vegeta. She hadn't seen him since Snow closed the window overlooking the ring in his throne room. As the women exited the control area, they were greeted with Mr. Snow, who had just regained consciousness. He spat out blood as more dripped from his nose. On second thought, I changed my mind, he wheezed. I can lose everything here, but I will not lose my wives. I'll never forgive myself if you two goddesses slip away from me. Please stay with me. I don't think so, Bulma fired back. In case you didn't notice, our chains are broken, so we're free now and we're getting out. And we were never your wives, you sick perverse freak. Chi-Chi yelled at Snow, whose eyes widened. No matter what you put us through, you will never break our bonds with our husbands. Chi-Chi slowly walked up to Snow and drove her elbow onto his face, breaking his nose. He fell back onto the ornate floor as Chi-Chi picked him up by his curly black hair. He let out more groans of pain, standing wobbly in place. She looked over to Bulma. If you want to get in some hits, now's your chance. A devious smile formed on Bulma's face. Gladly, she shouted as she walked up and delivered a slap with as much force as she could muster. Snow reeled from the hit and staggered about. Both women started trading slaps on the battered and bloody fighting tycoon. They felt immense satisfaction after the humiliating ordeal they had been put through. While in the middle of furious slaps, they heard the door behind them slide back open. Bulma and Chi-Chi's hearts both froze. Could this be Ampheta fighters looking to make them prisoners again? They turned around, not wanting to allow any suspense and find out if they had new foes to fight. Instead, they felt joy seeing that it was finally a friendly face, albeit an unexpected one. Hi Bulma. Hi Chi-Chi, Krillin said, waving sheepishly. He tried to make sense of the scene he had just walked in on. Chi-Chi and Bulma were clad in skimpy, opulent attires and he had walked in them ruthlessly slapping around a scrawny man who he assumed to be the owner of the place. Snow collected himself and got up, wincing in pain while he sized up the new intruder. He stared at Krillin for a few seconds who stared back at him, just as confused. Snow finally broke the silence by letting out an ear-piercing screech and sprinting down the corridor. Instead of attempting to chase him, the three reunited friends watched in awe. Wow. Bulma started. I've known you for so long Krillin and I think that's the first time I've ever seen you scare someone. Chi-Chi started to laugh as Krillin closed his eyes and sighed. Good to see you too, Bulma. The three combatants watched as the floor outside the ring began to flicker and fade in and out. What is the meaning of this? Vegeta thought to himself as he held his arm, still recovering from his earlier beating. Goku kept breathing heavy, sitting opposite from Karina in the ring. He wasn't sure if he was ready to continue his fight either. No matter what he tried, Karina kept getting the upper hand. Before he had time to figure out the meaning of the glowing floor's unusual activity, a figure appeared at the entrance where the Ampheta organization fighters emerged. This time it was Mr. Snow standing there, blood trickling from his nose and a crazed expression on his face. Change in plans, Karina, he shrieked. Finish these Saiyans right now. I don't care if I see it or not. I have to get the ultimate weapon prepared. Once you're done with the monkeys, go destroy the women and make it as painful as possible. They will pay for humiliating me and rejecting me like their husbands these Saiyans have. Then we'll find the brats. This planet will be the final resting place for both families, isn't that nice? Karina nodded, understanding his new assignment. Goku staggered up to a weak fighting stance. He didn't care what happened to him, but hearing the threats to Goten and Chi-Chi made his blood boil. He might have one last burst of energy left. He refused to go down without a fight. Vegeta felt similar sentiment. He was ready to step in. HMPH. That cretin. He isn't destroying Bulma, not while I'm still alive. Although he mentioned humiliation. Was she responsible for that? And is that why he looked so roughed up? She must be. Hey, that woman, she never ceases to amaze me. One last thing, Karina. Snow shouted before he departed. Those wretched women, they destroyed the void vacuum. I see only one panel of light left on the ring floor. That's the only one you can use to dissolve these Saiyan vermin. Hurry. I don't want to see them when I come back. Reduce them to nothing. Karina looked over to the glowing panel his boss mentioned. It was the only source of light left that could be used to dissolve an opponent if thrown out of the ring. He had to act fast if he wanted to end the fight. He walked over to Goku, who was closer, and delivered a quick backhanded chop to him. He picked Goku up by his belt and slowly carried him to the panel. Goku was too beat up to fight back at this point. To his surprise, Karina finally spoke. It's been an honor to fight you, Saiyan. I wish this battle could continue. He said very low, almost in a whisper as the two finally reached the edge of the ring. But orders are orders. Perhaps we will fight again in the afterlife. Before Goku could get a response, he looked up and saw a white boot being driven into Karina's jaw, jarring Goku loose. Somehow, Vegeta had summoned the strength to interfere and execute one last devastating kick. The attack sent Karina flying across the ring. He landed on the opposite side of the ring. The Saiyan Prince crashed down next to Goku, who was too exhausted to get up. Thanks, Vegeta. Goku strained to get out as he lay down looking up at the lights above. I wasn't going to let him finish you, Kakarot. Vegeta responded, sounding equally winded. Not like that, at least. Karina stomped back to the two Saiyan warriors, finally showing some emotion in the form of anger. You couldn't wait your turn, could you, Vegeta? He asked, practically mumbling. He picked up Vegeta by the shoulder strap of his tattered blue fighting gear. The other strap had been ripped off during the previous fights. Well, if you wanted to die first, all you had to do was ask. With that, Karina threw the wounded Vegeta into one of the corner pillars violently. The impact caused a crater on the side as Vegeta slumped down in pain. Goku couldn't see what was happening, but he could hear the loud crash and crumbling of stone. Karina walked to the opposite corner and eyed a pillar that wasn't damaged. He let out a grunt and chopped it in half as it tumbled to the ground. He wrapped his arms around the diameter of the pillar and heaved it upwards. With his eyelids feeling heavy, Goku leaned his neck up to see what Karina was doing. As soon as he did, he saw the pillar that Karina had lifted darting through the air towards Vegeta, crushing him before Goku could react. Goku watched in stunned silence as Vegeta plummeted out of the ring. Thankfully, it seemed the void vacuum had fully shut down, otherwise the Saiyan Prince would have been dissolved. He lay outside the ring, appearing unconscious. No. Vegeta. Goku struggled to get out. He sat up, wincing in pain. Karina looked over at Vegeta lying down, bleeding out and not moving. The boss said finish you, but I know he wants to see you die. Karina muttered, loud enough for Goku to hear. And your women and sons are not going to put up any sort of challenge. I will wait for him to return before I kill you. Mr. Snow needs to witness the death of the last 2 living Saiyans with me. It's the least I can do for him. We shall share the victory. Karina walked over to Goku, placing his boot on Goku's chest. For now, I'll just let the anticipation build. That will give you time to let your life flash before your eyes. You can remember all of your legendary victories and think about how I, Karina, the Angel Dust, was the only opponent you could not defeat. In all seriousness, we're so happy to see you, Krillin, Chi-Chi said to Krillin, who was still standing in the entrance to Snow's throne room. Ah, it's no biggie, Krillin said, appreciating at least some gratitude. What was he doing to you guys, if you don't mind me asking? You look, a bit underdressed. That's the understatement of the century, Bulma yelled with her arms crossed. That freak Mr. Snow took our clothes off and put us in these awful outfits for his own perverted enjoyment and to distract Goku and Vegeta while they fought. Mr. Snow is playing mind games, huh? Speaking of Goku and Vegeta, where are they anyway? Krillin asked. Chi-Chi looked over to the giant window that overlooked the ring, still covered with a metal barrier so no one could watch the fight. The ring is down below. Chi-Chi answered. Snow closed the window so we don't know what's going on there. Krillin grimaced. Well, I can sense at least 2 power levels now. I wasn't able to sense anyone before. One power I don't recognize, and whoever it is, it's in good shape. And the other? Not good. But still alive at least. Maybe it's Goku and Vegeta. Bulma thought out loud. Maybe they won and they're waiting for us. Always good to be optimistic, Krillin thought. But I know one of those powers is not Goku or Vegeta. Are you alone or did anyone else come with you? Chi-Chi asked. Yeah, Gohan and Videl came with. Krillin answered. They went to look for Goten and Trunks. I sure hope they found them. Bulma itched at the metal collar still around her neck. Krillin, this thing is killing me. You're super strong, can you break it off? I suppose, why not? Krillin said as he walked up to Bulma. He closed his eyes, trying not to stare at any part of her exposed body he shouldn't be staring at. He strained as he placed his fingers between the collar, trying not to pull it apart too fast and hurt Bulma. Boy, what's this thing made of? He thought to himself. He opened his eyes and was met with Bulma's chest, nestled in her new golden top. The unexpected sight caused him to fall back out of surprise. You men are all the same, Bulma yelled angrily. You are all just like that dirty old man. All I wanted was for you to get this annoying collar off of me and you stare at my chest. I wasn't trying to, Krillin said, trying to look away. Speaking of that old man, be glad I came here to save you and not Master Roshi. Or it'd be Nosebleed City the minute he got in and saw you guys dressed like this. Chi-Chi held her hand up to her mouth and started to laugh under her breath. This sort of familiar banter was welcome, as ridiculous as the situation seemed. Bulma was still annoyed and began to fume. Never mind, we'll get the collars off later. But we need to find some clothes. I don't want everyone to see me dressed like this. And it is really cold wherever this is. Chi-Chi added. I'll freeze if I don't put something on. Krillin looked at a door on the opposite side of where the control room was. This door was wooden with complex carvings in it and an Ampheta organization logo at the top. Maybe he keeps his clothes in here. He speculated and headed over to examine the doorway. We can look for a bit, but let's not waste too much time here. The others will be waiting for us. He twisted the golden door handle, and it appeared to be locked. What could Mr. Snow be keeping in here? Stand back, ladies. Krillin instructed his friends. You're about to witness a little breaking and entering. Krillin wound his fist back and punched through the wooden door, easily knocking it off its hinges. Krillin kicked the remains of the wooden door aside and the three walked inside. They began to take in their surroundings. The room appeared to be Mr. Snow's bedroom. A massive chandelier illuminated the room so every detail could be examined. The room seemed like the extravagant bedroom that they would expect a wealthy promoter like Mr. Snow to have. White carpeted floor with vintage rugs and a giant bed that had to dwarf Mr. Snow. Complete with silk sheets, blankets and pillows. It looked as if the bed was built to occupy multiple people, which made Bulma and Chi-Chi's spines chill, thinking this could have been their next destination once the fights ended. What made this bedroom different seem very strange was the childishness of it. For every gaudy element there was an equally childish element. Action figures and toys laid strewn around the floor. Instead of fine art that decorated the rest of the compound were paper posters of fights and tournaments lining the walls, hastily and unevenly taped on. Krillin, Chi-Chi and Bulma were in awe at how bizarre the room was. "Does a kid live here or something?" Krillin asked. "No," Chi-Chi answered. "This is definitely Mr. Snow's room. Wow, and I thought Goten's room was messy." "No kidding," Bulma added. Mr. Snow's mom clearly never disciplined him for not cleaning his room. The three poked around looking for a wardrobe, trying not to step on any toys or figures, especially those of the multicolored interlocking plastic brick variety of which there were plenty in the massive room. Krillin already hopped about in pain, falling victim to the deceivingly sharp plastic toys. A familiar image caught Chi-Chi's attention as she looked around. There was one painting in the room after all, a giant piece at that. The piece of art was a high-quality painting of Goku and Vegeta's first fight. Chi-Chi was confused as she took in the detail. The painting was accurate as far as she could tell. Vegeta was in his Saiyan battle armor and Goku had his old GI that she instantly recognized. "What the?" Bulma started as she walked over to Chi-Chi and saw the painting she was staring at. "How obsessed is he with Goku and Vegeta?" Chi-Chi asked no one in particular. She wondered how they missed this massive painting when they walked in. She looked over to smaller portraits next to the giant painting and saw that the portraits were of Snow dressed in both Goku and Vegeta's battle attire. His near-skeletal body bade their clothes look incredibly baggy. Chi-Chi's thought was broken up by an obnoxious laugh coming from the bed. It was Bulma, who had doubled over on the bed still laughing and almost crying from her howls of laughter. "What is it, Bulma?" Krillin called over while he looked around. Bulma collected herself. "You guys need to see these. If I don't laugh, I'm just going to be creeped out, and I've been creeped out enough today." Krillin and Chi-Chi walked over to Bulma, who was by the nightstands at end of the bed. She was holding a small statue of Vegeta that had been on one end of the bed. The statue was of high quality, highly detailed and completely nude. It looked like something seen in a museum. Every time Bulma looked down at the statue, she burst out laughing and her infectious laugh spread to Krillin and Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi looked at the other end of the bed and saw that Goku had his own undressed statue as well, causing her to cackle. "If you guys weren't laughing so hard, I'd just be plain creeped out," Krillin said with a chuckle. "Don't get me wrong, this is super freaky, but after the day I've had I'd rather be laughing than crying," Bulma remarked. "We need to be positive, like you said earlier," Chi-Chi said to Bulma. "Let's hang on to these and embarrass the guys later." Bulma snickered. "Sounds good. Want to take bets on how long this one lasts before Vegeta destroys it?" Krillin had to chuckle to himself as he shook his head and put the statues in his backpack along with the 3-star Dragon Ball. The group went back to looking for clothes. Bulma eyed a series of doors along the wall behind the bed that they hadn't looked inside of yet. "Maybe in one of those?" she thought as she investigated the first door. She twisted the golden doorknob and walked inside. It was not locked. She couldn't find a light switch just yet and had no clue what was in this closet. It didn't appear to be clothes, but her curiosity and scientific nature was getting the best of her. She reached along the wall looking for a light switch and felt stone. She felt like she had grabbed another statue, possibly an arm or leg. Great, more weird statues of Vegeta and Goku, she thought before finally finding a switch. The room lit up, but not as bright as the bedroom. It was a less powerful light, to give the room a more meditative aspect to it. She looked around and her heart began to sink. She realized she was inside a shrine with photos and unlit candles lining the walls. And to her horror she realized it was a shrine dedicated to her. Photos of her during private moments decorated the walls. Moments that she had no idea she was being watched. She saw photos of herself doing mundane tasks at home, going out with friends and family or out shopping, as well as older photos of her from her young adult days going on adventures with Goku as a child. To make matters even worse, occasional artistic pieces were thrown in among the candid photos, ranging from suggestive to borderline erotic. Some even had muscular depictions of Mr. Snow with a scantily clad Bulma in the artwork. The centerpiece of the room was a statue of her in the center with unlit candles surrounding it. It had to have been created by the finest stonemasons in the galaxy. Bulma's joy from laughing at the statue of Vegeta fully faded. It seemed as though her former captor Mr. Snow was as obsessed with her as he was with him. She turned to exit, but a hardcover book on the floor caught her eye. Against her better judgment, she picked it up and paged through it. It appeared to be private writings of Mr. Snow, all about his dreams of what he would do with Bulma if he had the chance to finally meet her. She closed it quickly as soon as the writing got too titillating for her liking. She quickly stepped out of the shrine and was met with Chi-Chi, who looked just as vexed. "Did he make a shrine for you too?" she asked Bulma, who nodded quickly. Chi-Chi pointed to the door next to the entrance Bulma had emerged from. "My shrine is right next to yours." "He has been spying on us," Bulma muttered, the gravity of the situation setting in. "But for how long?" "I don't want to know," Chi-Chi said, folding her arms. "I know he really wanted us, but I didn't know he was this obsessed with us, and our husbands. This guy is straight up deranged. We really need to get out of here," Bulma said, trying to forget everything she had just witnessed. "Hey ladies, did you find any clothes?" Krillin asked as he walked up to them. "What's in there?" "Don't go in there," Bulma and Chi-Chi both yelled in unison. They went to a third door, and to their relief, they finally found a closet. Racks upon racks of clothes went deep inside the closet, so far that the group couldn't see where it ended. "I knew this jerk would have a lot of clothes," Bulma said as she looked around for new attire. "Yeah, typical rich people with wardrobes that are more like warehouses," Krillin snorted. Bulma turned from looking through racks of clothes to glare at Krillin. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "I'm rich and I have a very modest closet. Ask Vegeta, he'll tell you the same thing, and he's a prince. So, he knows all about affluence." "I'm sure he does," Krillin said under his breath. "Let's hurry up and find something so we can leave." A dark gray coat with satin lining caught Chi-Chi's eye. Even better, it had plenty of buttons and a leather belt so no one would be able to see the humiliating outfit she had been forced to wear underneath. She pulled the coat down from the rack and began to put it on. "I found something," Chi-Chi called out. "How about you, Bulma?" "Yeah, I'm good," she answered as she began to put a royal purple robe she found on. She tightened the belt around her waist. Bulma recoiled in disgust, realizing the word "snow" was sewed on the chest pocket of the robe. She needed something to quickly throw on, even if the piece of clothing she chose bore the name of her captor. "Now we need to find everyone else. Goku. Goten," Chi-Chi thought to herself as the group left Mr. Snow's room. "I just hope they're okay. I don't need their energy anymore." A voice growled deep down inside the lowest bowels of the Ampheta organization's arenas. He continued the grumble as he entered a code into a terminal and was granted access inside. "So what if the key neutralizer doesn't work anymore, or the void vacuum?" he continued as he walked inside the room and activated the lights. Soon tanks with gray liquid inside were lit up as the figure walked inside the room. "I carried on the legacy of the Ampheta organization. My father was a fool. I got rid of him because I knew how to run this company, not him. I made this company to entertain the most important person in the entire universe. Me. And my roster has defeated thousands of the universe's strongest warriors, all for my enjoyment. And now, it is time to fulfill the ultimate purpose of the Ampheta organization." Mr. Snow walked up to a workstation with a computer screen with a tube sticking out. "It is time to inject all of the energy I have saved up. The energy of the strongest fighters in its purest form into my body, and I shall finally become the fighter that I was destined to be. This will prove once and for all that I am above all living things, for I have found a way to achieve ultimate power." Snow looked up, his attention turning back to the battle between his champion and his guests. "I have no doubts Karina finished off the Saiyans by now. Soon, I will finally experience their power. I have wanted to be them my entire life, and soon, I shall become them as I have dreamed." Snow picked up the tube and took the cap off the end, revealing an intravenous needle at the end. He quickly found a vein and stuck the IV inside, his eyes watering from the pain. He entered in commands and the gray liquids started to get pumped into his body. "Oh yes, this is great," Snow shouted in ecstasy. "I will achieve my destiny at last." He began to uproariously laugh, echoing through the chamber. His cackles coming close to screams as more and more of the raw energy began to enter and pump through his body. The energy of hundreds of thousands of fighters sat in this basement, awaiting use, and that day had finally arrived. Karina looked down at Goku as he kept his boot on Goku's chest. This was his own victory formation. His opponent appeared unable to fight back. The other Saiyan was almost certainly dead. What was the point of killing this one now? Especially if his superior wasn't there to witness his greatest win with him. Goku looked up at Karina standing over him. "I got one last bit of energy left. I am not going to let him pin me down like this. I never lay down and die." He started to grip his fingers on Karina's boot. This caught the enigmatic combatant's attention. "Oh, how amusing. Are you getting bored down there?" Suddenly a familiar sensation overcame Goku. He almost forgot what this felt like. He could now sense the ki of everyone around him. Karina on top of him as well as familiar ki nearby. Gohan, Vital, Goten, Trunks, and someone that he didn't recognize with them. Was this someone they were fighting? He closed his eyes and scanned the compound some more. Now he could sense Chi-Chi and Bulma. They were with Krillin. "Hey, Gohan and Vital are here, and everyone's alive. Maybe there's a happy ending to this after all." Goku thought to himself. But what about Vegeta? Goku focused on the area Vegeta had been launched into. He kept scanning for him and finally found him. His ki was faint, he was still alive but barely. He was hanging on by a thread. There was hope now. Not just for Goku in his fight but for everyone else. Goku gripped his fists, attempting to power up for what felt like the first time in ages. He began to slowly lift Karina's foot off his chest to Karina's shock. He tried to drive his foot back down, but Goku fought back, lifting his foot higher and higher before finally pushing Karina off of him. Karina righted himself with a swift back flip before staring down Goku. "How are you doing that?" Karina asked, startled. "Stay down. You are defeated." "Not anymore," Goku said as he stood up. "It looks like your little machines that were draining us and giving you an edge aren't working anymore. Which is bad news for you and Mr. Snow." Goku crouched down and clenched his fists. He slowly began to power up. He could still draw ki but at a slower rate than normal. It was better than nothing. Karina watched in shock as an aura formed around Goku. These Saiyans weren't supposed to be able to use their ki again. What was happening? Feeling he had enough energy, Goku began to step toward Karina. "Every unfair advantage you thought you had against me is gone. You're never going to push yourself and get stronger if you keep cheating against stronger opponents. And now it's time you learn this lesson the hard way." Goku blasted towards Karina and decked the side of his face with his new strength. Karina stumbled back, not even aware he just got hit before Goku drove his knee into Karina's abdomen. Karina clutched at his head and stomach, not anticipating Goku's new speed. He looked back at him and grimaced. "No, this can't be," he yelled, raising his voice for the first time. "I had you beat. You will not take away my victory. I will annihilate you." "Go ahead and try," Goku shot back. "You're just gonna wear yourself out." Karina let out a shout and charged back at Goku, delivering lightning fast punches and kicks. None of them were connecting. Now Goku was the one who was one step ahead of every attack Karina tried to use on him. The tables had turned. Krillin was the first to enter the arena after navigating his way through Snow's throne room with Chi-Chi and Bulma. The group's first sight was Karina's barrage of fists on Goku, who was still effortlessly dodging them all. "Hey!" Krillin called over to his friend. Goku blocked the last punch from Karina and looked over at his friends. Krillin gave Goku a thumbs up while Bulma and Chi-Chi stood behind him smiling. It looked like the women had found new clothes to cover them up. Seeing the three of them was the motivation Goku needed. Now he knew they were at least unharmed. He had one less thing to worry about. Now he just had to finish off Karina, then find Goten and Trunks. Karina breathed heavily, angered that Goku paused the fight. "I am not done with you. How dare you let them interrupt our fight?" Goku smirked at him. "You're not getting any hits in, and I hate to say it but you probably won't anymore, so I wouldn't say much of a fight anymore." "I'm just getting warmed up," Karina screamed. "I'll promise you this,
I will finish all of your friends once I'm done with you.
With that, he charged at Goku again. Despite his threats, the results weren't any different. Goku continued to dodge every single one of his attacks. He's going to tire himself out eventually. Goku thought in between punches. This guy's never been humbled in his life, that's going to change. Chi-Chi, Bulma and Krillin scurried across the ringside area to the waiting platform. A blue flash caught Bulma's eye as she ran. She turned around and looked over to see what it was. Her spirits dropped when she realized it was Vegeta lying down. Blood still flowing out of the gash on his head and his battle attire tattered. No, 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 she thought as she rushed to his side. This wasn't supposed to happen. We were all supposed to make it out alive.
Krillin and Chi-Chi looked back as Bulma cradled Vegeta's head in her arms, tears beginning to form again. An unfortunately familiar sensation so far that day. He was still warm, and his chest was slowly heaving up and down. He was still breathing. He wasn't gone yet. Vegeta opened his eyes and let out a pained grunt. What are you doing, woman? Get yourself somewhere safe. You've seen what this floor can do. It could start working again and swallow you up. Tears started to finally fall down from Bulma's eyes. No, she said, tightening her grip on his muscular arms. You don't have to worry about getting vaporized. I shut that machine down. And I'm not going to leave you. Even if the machine was still running, I wouldn't leave you. You're hurt.
Vegeta let out a cough. Being crushed between two stone pillars tends to do that, even if you're an elite Saiyan warrior. Bulma found herself smiling after hearing that. Still a smartass no matter what they do to you, she said softly while slowly stroking his black spiky hair. Just go. Find Trunks. Vegeta strained to get out. I don't know how you did it. But you didn't need Kakarot or me to save you. You found a way to save yourself. You're such a remarkable woman. Bulma's lip quivered as she reached down and gripped Vegeta's hand. Well, Chi-Chi did most of the fighting. Snow. Did that bastard hurt you? Vegeta asked, because if he did, I'll. No, I'm fine. Bulma interrupted. Don't worry about me right now. I have to find a way to get you out of here. I don't want you to see me defeated like this, please. Find Trunks and get somewhere safe. Don't worry about me. I deserve this for leaving you behind. Bulma tightened her grip on his hand. For a moment the sight of Vegeta's blood on her hand made her flinch. She couldn't remember ever seeing Vegeta this hurt. The closest time that came to mind was when the gravity chamber exploded at the beginning of their relationship. She grew more emotional as memories of caring for him after that day came flooding back into her mind. More tears streamed down her face as she began to think about how long they had been together. You're not defeated, Vegeta. Bulma whispered. You're still breathing, you're not done yet. And I'm not leaving you, I'm not going to tell you that again. We are going to find Trunks and we will get out of here, together as a family. That includes you. HMPH. Vegeta weakly snorted. This battlefield is the last place you should be. I'll never forgive myself if something happens to you here. You've already been through enough today. And it's all my fault. All because I left you. Vegeta, you made one mistake. We all make mistakes, even me. I'll gladly forgive you for everything just like I know you'd do the same for me. I don't care about what happened back at the mall right now. All I want is to go back home with you and Trunks. I want all of us to get out of here alive, that means you too. Bulma felt a feeble pressure on her hand from Vegeta. Just because you made a mistake doesn't change the fact that I love you. I love you too, Bulma. Vegeta responded hoarsely. Chi-Chi and Krillin watched as Bulma knelt down next to Vegeta. They had thought for certain he was gone but felt relief watching him move once Bulma got next to him. Mom. Krillin. A voice excitedly cried out behind Krillin and Chi-Chi. They both quickly turned around to see Goten running up to them. Chi-Chi had waited for this moment all day. During her ordeal at Mr. Snow's throne, Goten had constantly been on her mind. She wasn't sure what could have possibly happened for him. Worrying visions ranging from torture to death plagued her mind, but now those anxious thoughts faded away, seeing that Goten was still in one piece and unharmed. Oh Goten! Chi-Chi cried as she kneeled down and wrapped her arms around her son tightly. I was so worried about you. Goten's face turned red, but he didn't want to say anything. His mother was clearly elated to see him, and he didn't want to ruin the moment. Gohan and Videl soon joined up with the group along with a young man Chi-Chi didn't recognize. After a firm hug with Goten, Chi-Chi ran up to Gohan and Videl and embraced them as well. "It's a miracle you made it here," Chi-Chi said to her son and daughter-in-law as she pulled back from them. "I see Dad's still fighting, huh?" Gohan observed as he watched his father continue fending off Karina's attacks. "Hopefully not for much longer," Chi-Chi muttered, still relieved her family was finally reunited. "Why are you wearing that, Mom?" Goten asked, noticing Chi-Chi was wearing a fancy coat now. A much different look from the last time he saw his mother at the mall. Chi-Chi started to blush, trying to think of an explanation. "I got cold, this planet is awfully chilly, so I looked around and found this coat." She started to sheepishly laugh, but that seemed to be a good enough answer for Goten. Gohan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small sackcloth. "Hey Dad," he called over to his father. Goku shot back away from Karina. He saw that his family was finally all together again at last. "All right," Goku yelled out. "Everyone's okay, right, but it looks like you could use a little help," Gohan said as he opened the bag, revealing the senzu beans inside. He tossed a small green bean in Goku's direction. Goku caught it with 2 fingers and wasted no time devouring it. Gohan noticed Bulma and Vegeta at ringside and threw a bean in their direction as well. Bulma caught it this time and slowly fed it to Vegeta. Gohan noticed Trunks watching his parents and looking concerned. "Hey Trunks." Gohan started as the boy turned to him. "Your dad will be fine, don't worry. And soon your parents will be over here with us." Trunks looked a little more at ease after that assurance. He certainly needed that. Gohan felt bad for him. He was able to reunite with his mom and brother, but Trunks didn't get to do the same with his parents, at least not yet. Vegeta's injuries seemed bad, but nothing a senzu bean couldn't handle. This is so demeaning," Vegeta complained in between chewing. Bulma let out a laugh and wiped her tears. Vegeta catching an attitude meant he was feeling better. "Oh hush, you know it will make you feel better." Within seconds, the 2 Saiyans were healed up thanks to the mythic beans. Vegeta collected himself and sat up. Bulma offered her hand to help him stand and he reluctantly took her hand, hoping the others wouldn't see. The pair soon began to head over the group at the waiting platform. "Mom! Dad!" Trunks cried out as he ran up to his parents. He jumped up and flew over to his parents. The boy spared no time in wrapping his arms around the legs of both of his parents to Bulma's delight and Vegeta's embarrassment. But even as uncomfortable as Vegeta was displaying his emotions, he made little fuss. Trunks never left his mind either, and he was relieved to see that his son was safe and appeared unharmed. Trunks backed up to get a look at his parents. "How are ya, kiddo?" Bulma asked him cheerfully. "Did you miss me?" "Yes," Trunks exclaimed. He turned his attention to his father. He noticed his father's roughed-up appearance and damaged battle attire. "Are you okay, Dad? You look beat up." "I'm fine, boy," Vegeta answered gruffly. "These are merely scratches." Gohan smiled. "You're still your usual self, huh Vegeta? Good to see you too, Bulma." Vegeta looked down at his son. He looked to be in better condition than his father. Whatever battles he faced, he certainly took care of himself. "Son," Vegeta began. "Yeah, Dad?" Trunks looked up at his father. "This is no place for lesser fighters. Kakarot and I found that out firsthand. The maniac in charge around here will throw any trick he can at you. You have to be smart to survive. I'm pleased to see that you took on whatever opponents you faced, and you survived as well. I knew you would. Be proud of yourself, son." Trunks looked down and laughed. "Hey, thanks Dad." It was rare for his father to praise him, even more so in front of everyone else. "Excuse me," Karina screamed, still standing in the ring. "I've seen enough of this sentimental little family reunion. It's making me sick there's still a fight going on." Goku turned to look at him. "Oh, right. And I feel more of my strength returning. It's time for you to see firsthand just how powerful us Saiyans really are. In fact, I'm gonna show you one of my signature moves." "Do your worst," Karina taunted. "I got thousands more moves I want to try on you. I hate to break it to you, but I don't think you're going to get a chance to." "Sorry," Goku said nonchalantly, adjusting his position to crouch down. "But anyway, get ready. Me." "What are you doing?" Karina asked, alarmed. "That's not a ki-based attack, is it? Real fighters don't use ki." Goku pressed his wrists together and turned back, the ball of light in his hands growing bigger. Huh. Me. Karina began to sweat nervously. Stop it. I know the counter to every strike out there. Don't think I'm afraid of your little incantation or whatever it is you're doing. Huh? Goku screamed as he turned and directed his energy towards Karina. The Ampheta champion had only fractions of a second to react to the beam of energy cascading towards him. Karina's cool demeanor began to evaporate, quite literally. He was shot into the ceiling, shattering the dark material covering the arena and into the depths of space. Goku let out a long exhale. He finally felt like himself again now that his energy wasn't being drained. It would take another battle to feel more comfortable with his power. He looked around and felt more at ease. He saw Gohan had made it to the arena with Krillin and Videl, and the group found Goten and Chi-Chi. He looked to his side and saw Bulma with Vegeta and Trunks. Thankfully it looked like Gohan provided Vegeta with a Senzu bean as well. He was standing up and looking energized again. Yo Vegeta! Goku called over. Vegeta turned from his wife and son, looking mildly irritated. HMPH, what is it? Thanks for what you did in that last fight. You risked your life to save me. The Saiyan Prince smirked. Oh please, it's not like I was in any real danger. Nevertheless, I accept your gratitude, Kakarot. Goku smiled back as Bulma wrapped her arm tightly around Vegeta's arm. There's no doubt she wasn't going to let go, at least until they were all home. Vegeta's battle-damaged glove rested on Trunks' shoulder. Seeing this family so happy to be reunited made Goku eager to reunite with his own family, who were just on the other side of the ring. Vegeta seemed to share Goku's thoughts. I've had enough of this place. Let's depart. Goku nodded and followed Vegeta's group as they headed back to Gohan and the others. Goku looked over, excited to finally see his complete family together again after what felt like forever. Making eye contact with Chi-Chi again made his heart start to rush. He hoped that she felt the excitement as well. She certainly seemed ready to be in his arms once more. But once again, that reunion would be delayed as a shrill cackle echoed throughout the damaged arena. Trunks assumed a defensive position as he turned to see what this new threat was. Bulma recognized the laugh immediately and quickly hid behind Vegeta. No one is going anywhere, a piercing voice screamed. The group watched as a transformed Mr. Snow emerged from the entrance. No longer lanky and well-dressed, the promoter had grown in height and muscle size. Veins bulged across his entire body. His skin was now an unusual shade of green, pale and almost glowing under the shadows. He had grown in size in general. Not a giant like a great ape Saiyan, but close. He towered over everyone else now. His voice still had his signature nasal quality, but it was noticeably louder now and carried some bass to it. Snow looked over to a needle sticking out of his wrist and tossed it into the empty seats around the arena. The ultimate purpose of storing the energy of thousands upon thousands of fighters wasn't to redirect the energy to my fighters. It was to give all that power to me, so that I may become the ultimate warrior in the universe. And now I have achieved that goal at last. I will travel the universe and defeat the strongest fighters everywhere I go with all the energy I have accumulated for years. No one will be powerful enough to defeat Mr. Snow. Goku looked away after seeing the needle brought onto the battleground. He had seen enough things he'd like to forget, and he wasn't pleased to see a dreaded syringe. Gohan instinctively stood in front of Videl. After Jarek's cheap shot on her, he didn't want to see what this man-turned-monstrosity could potentially do to her next. Goten joined his brother. Krillin and Saiyoda followed suit. All were ready to fight. I don't need the Saiyan powers I would have gained by throwing you monkeys into the void vacuum. Snow continued. I will prove that I can become the most powerful being without wasting time training like you fools. Those of my pedigree and wealth don't need to waste our time training. We have empires to run. We can match, no, surpass your power whenever we want, and you all have personally wronged me. You have destroyed my machines, and you have killed every member of my beloved Ampheta fighting roster. Do you have any idea how long it will take me to build new machines and find a new roster? Chi-Chi stepped back. She had hoped she would never see this maniacal aristocrat again. Snow stared angrily at both Chi-Chi and Bulma. And worst of all, you women rejected me, and attacked me. How could you? You could have lived a life of luxury and comfort as my wives. But you chose these dirty primates over me. You will pay for that. Unless, he started, the lecherous tone returning to his altered voice. Unless you want to come back to me. and willingly be mine. With my new body, I must be irresistible to you women. I am the perfect mate. You know it and so do I. Give in to your desire for me. Leave these Saiyans right now and come back to me. Bulma peeked around from Vegeta. Alright, you prick. You're delusional to think we'd come back to you now or ever. We never wanted to be here or have anything to do with you in the first place. She yelled. Her arms still wrapped tightly around Vegeta's waist. You probably don't know this, but I run the Capsule Corporation back on Earth. So spare me this crap about providing us luxury. I'm already rich. And that's not even important. I'm just happy and blessed to have this abundance. Plus, I have friends and family to share it with. Even if I wasn't rich, I'd never be seen with the likes of you in a million years. Snow clenched his fist and started to exhale angrily. Chi-Chi felt apprehensive seeing Bulma open her mouth again to talk back to Snow and hoped this wouldn't land everyone in more trouble. Bulma noticed his rage growing and didn't care about holding back anymore. She felt safe so closer to Vegeta. You are never going to rip me away from this man or my son. I'll choose them over you and whatever it is you think you can offer me every time. Chi-Chi decided that their circumstances were different than earlier.
She realized she was protected now too, surrounded by people who could defend her, and she knew she could defend herself. She was finally emboldened to speak up after biting her tongue for so long. Our families are worth more than your fortune or any fortune. You are an obsessive, annoying, childish creep. You can't buy or take what we have. You'll never get to experience this kind of love. You lost. Just accept that you lost and let us leave. We're all tired of fighting.
The women's remarks were met with Snow punching what stone tile remained with all his newfound might in a fit of rage. He was rejected once again and did not handle rejection well, as everyone soon realized. There is nothing in this universe I can't take for myself, he screeched at his foes. You will pay for your insults. If I can't have you, then I will destroy you and every single being that stands before me. Goku stepped forward. He had enough of Mr. Snow. This entire ordeal had dragged on for too long and Goku wanted it to end for his family's sake. I'm giving you one last chance. Goku started, his eyebrows slanted. Let all of us leave. I don't care if you got the energy of every fighter that's ever existed, you don't know what you're dealing with. Accept defeat and walk away. We don't have to fight anymore. I am not here to negotiate anymore, now I am here to exterminate, Snow retorted to silence. That statement probably sounded a lot better in your mind than in real life, Vegeta snarked. You know. Gohan started. That was a really stupid thing to say. I don't know who you are, but delivering one-liners is not your strong suit. You are really bad at them, so you should leave that to the professionals. The rest of the group chattered amongst themselves, agreeing with Gohan and Vegeta. This only humiliated Mr. Snow further. Insulted. By monkeys in my own arena. Each and every one of you is dead. You Saiyans, you brats, you girls, you people I don't know. Snow bellowed. You all will die. Hold on a minute here. Sayoda said, stepping towards Snow. You locked me up in your prison for years. Hell, I lost track of how many years. If anyone gets first hit on your sorry ass, it ought to be me. Don't think I forget about you, Sayoda. Snow replied with a grin. You were my favorite fighter and I thought you were my friend. But you turned against me, and you said such awful things about me while under contract to me. You're not my friend. You're just a cruel, manipulative punk. That sounds like me. Sayoda shrugged. And you know what? I don't know these people well, but they seem like good people and none of them deserved what you did to them. They've helped me and I'm gonna help them. I'm going to end you for you've done them and for your father. That's right, I know you're the one who murdered him. Snow growled in anger. His father was still a sore subject. Before he could process the vitriol, Sayoda charged towards the genetically enhanced Snow. He dashed to the corner and jumped up, attempting to drive his knee into Snow's head. Snow blocked the hit and grabbed Sayoda's ankle. He wound back and threw Snow into the empty seats surrounding the ring. The impact reverberated through the arena and dust clouded the collision spot. Snow turned back to the rest of the group. And now, you're all next, he screamed as he slowly trudged towards the others. He drove both fists into the ring, shattering the stone tiles like glass. His new size slowed him down, which gave everyone time to scatter. Goku jumped over to where the throne room once stood. Vegeta, with Bulma in his arms, dodged the strike to the ring and flew over to Gohan and Vital.
He dropped her off and leapt back to the other side of the arena opposite of Goku. Gohan decided Vegeta and his father had things under control, so he'd stay back for now. If he decided to jump in, he felt calm knowing Goten, Trunks and Krillin were there to protect Bulma and Chi-Chi.
He was not sure just how powerful Snow had become. It was unclear if he gained the ability to use Ki with his unusual method of obtaining new strength. It was time to test the waters. Goku sprung over to Snow from his perch on the throne room and drove his fist into the side of Snow's face, toppling the giant over. Goku hovered over Snow, watching him collect himself. That was for Chi-Chi and Goten. Snow shook off the pain and stood back up. He attempted to swat at Goku, who dodged his swipes. His distraction made him forget about Vegeta, who drove his foot into the side of Snow's head, who fell down once again. Vegeta frowned as he looked down on Snow, shaking his head again. He had been waiting to get his hands on the promoter. After what you've done to Trunks and my Bulma. For them, I will punish you, and I won't be satisfied until you are dead. The Saiyan Prince let out a shout as he drove his knee into the middle of Snow's abdomen, causing him to spit out blood. Snow tried to brush the pain aside, swung his arm towards Vegeta, wrapping his fingers around him. Goku rushed in to try and save him, but Snow caught him with his other arm. Both men cried out in pain as Snow started to tighten his grip on both of them before looking over to Gohan. Feel free to cut in whenever. Perhaps I'll spare you and let you fight for me. My roster is depleted. Snow taunted before looking over to Vital, who looked frightened. Is that your girlfriend? She's cute. I think I'll keep her and make her mine once I'm done squeezing the life out of these monkeys. Gohan, wait. Vital cried. She knew he wasn't going to take these comments well. And she was right. Snow's comments were enough to set Gohan off. He leapt up and flew towards Snow. The promoter's devious smile grew while he watched Gohan blast towards him. With abnormal speed, he pitched Vegeta towards Gohan, who collided with each other instantly, then launched Goku into them. The three crashed into the stone wall, nearly falling outside the arena. Goku and Vegeta were slow to recover and get to their feet, but Gohan was still energized and still livid about what Snow said about Vital. Without taking any time to recuperate, Gohan flew back to Mr. Snow. He began to ascend upwards, making Snow think he would attack his head. Snow reeled back his arm, anticipating the attack, but Gohan quickly disappeared from his view. Snow still made the strike and swung his arm through the air. What? He yelled. Where did he go? As soon as he finished his question, Gohan materialized at his midsection and drove his elbow into Snow's chest. Snow fell back again. Meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta finally gathered themselves while Gohan delivered strikes into Snow's head. He has all this new power yet he's clueless on how to use it, Vegeta observed. He's getting more hits in on his own arena than on us, Goku added. Only problem is he's taking all of our blows and coming back each time like it's nothing. Snow grabbed Gohan with both hands and batted him to the side the moment he released his grip. Snow began to regain his footing, holding onto his chest in pain. Instead of going for Gohan again, he looked over to Vital, Bulma, Chi-Chi and the boys. You are all a distraction, he bellowed at them. I can't have distractions. Using his new size, Snow reached into the rafters above the ring and began to pull at a lighting rig. He peeled a solid piece of metal off of it and lunged it at the group. Bulma and Chi-Chi both ducked down as their sons and Krillin assumed defensive stances. The three launched a barrage of ki blasts at the piece of metal flying towards them, disintegrating the metal husks. Goku watched with concern. He's all over the place in his attacks. It's hard to predict what he's going to do next or who he's going to attack. We can't have him go after Chi-Chi and Bulma again. He considered using the instant transmission technique to get everyone back to Earth, but it would be too difficult to do that during the chaos of the battle, especially when everyone was scattered and running around. The ship seemed like their only escape home at the moment. I'm not taking the risk, Vegeta murmured. Yo, Baldy. Krillin looked over to Vegeta and Goku. Get them out of here. Wait in the ship, he instructed. Krillin had no desire to join the battle, so he'd gladly take Vegeta's orders without complaint. Krillin took Bulma and Chi-Chi by their wrists and began to run back to the ship. Vital followed behind them. You two go with him, Vegeta yelled to Goten and Trunks. Aw man. Trunks whined. But we want to fight too, Goten protested. Do as he says, Goten, Goku said to his son sternly. You need to stay back and protect your mom. We got this under control. We're going to finish this and leave this place. Yes, sir. Goten mumbled. He at least had a mission now. The two boys followed after Krillin and the women. Snow frantically looked around for someone to attack next but could not locate anyone. He began to throw a giant-sized tantrum out of frustration, destroying whatever objects came into his view. Goku and Vegeta watched the meltdown from a safe spot in the upper levels of the seating. They didn't have to mask their ki to hide from Snow. Despite his new power, he was incapable of even a basic technique like scanning for ki. Rubble behind the two Saiyans began to shift and soon Seiota emerged from the crater he had been shot into. I really hate being honest all the time. He began, rubbing the back of his head. It means I have to admit things I don't want to admit. But I'm no match for Snow. And I'm not even close to being on the level of you guys. HMPH, then get out of our way and out of our sight, Vegeta snapped. That's the plan actually. You guys are strong enough to beat him and you're right, I am just going to get in the way. So, I'm going home. But you see what Snow is doing, right? Goku and Vegeta looked over to the mysterious fighter as he continued. Snow now has the endurance of hundreds of thousands of fighters he's stored the energy from. So he's going to take way too long to defeat, and it's going to take some time for you guys to recover and fight with 100% of your power. It just occurred to me that with all the machines destroyed, this place could get sucked into the black holes nearby at point. There's nothing keeping this place stable anymore. We need to end this battle and fast. But I have an idea that will help end this once and for all. What is it? Goku asked. I'll distract him and the two of you plus your friend, wherever he is, can blast Snow. Seiota explained. Remember, we are surrounded by black holes. I say you guys put the energy you have left to use and launch Snow into the abyss where he belongs. Vegeta crossed his arms. Looks like you're useful after all. Very well, go distract him. You guys get your friend over here and charge your attacks together. I gotta say goodbye to some friends first. With that, Seiota departed the arena and Goku and Vegeta began to search for Gohan. Krillin quickly scurried into the Capsule Corp ship still parked outside the arena. The lights still hadn't turned back on, indicating the power had yet to return. He sat down on the computer terminal and prayed that the key neutralizer did not somehow damage the ship's battery. To his relief, the screen flashed back on, and the ship began to load. Krillin wiped sweat. Finally something was going right today. Bulma and Chi-Chi walked up the boarding platform and took seats on the side of the ship. This ordeal was close to being over. All they needed was their husbands to defeat their former captor so everyone could finally return home. While watching the computer continue to load, Krillin looked over, was surprised to see Videl enter along with them. Tired of fighting, huh? He said to her. I can't say I blame you. Videl shrugged. There's no point. Besides, I know Gohan and the guys will make short work of that monster. They don't need me. It will be over soon, and we'll all be home before you know it. Krillin assured her. Where are the boys anyway? He looked around the ship and saw there was no sign of Goten and Trunks. Videl sighed. Now is not the time for them to be screwing around. I'll go look for them. Meanwhile, outside the ship, Goten and Trunks put off entering the ship so they could take one last look at the arena. They could hear the destruction of the arena from their spot outside. A light green hand shot through the roof. That had to be Mr. Snow. Do y'all think our dads are winning? Goten asked. The two could hear the sound of crashing and impact reverberating from inside the arena. I know they are, Trunks answered quickly. That Snow guy doesn't stand a chance. I wish we could help and fight. Goten added sheepishly. Before Trunks could reply, the boys sensed a presence on a hill by the ship. They turned to see who it was. They were surprised to see Seiota standing next to them. What are you doing here? Trunks asked. What happened to our dads? Goten chimed in. Always bombarding me with questions, aren't you kids? I'll miss that. Seiota said as he stepped closer to them. They're fine, the fight should be over soon. I'm not going to be traveling with you guys to your planet, so I wanted to say goodbye to you too. And more importantly, say thank you. Seiota got on one knee and reached his taped-up hand out for Goten to shake and then Trunks as a sign of respect. But I don't get it. Trunks started. Why are you leaving? Seiota shrugged. I was in that cell for years. I'm so rusty when it comes to fighting that I'm just going to get in your dad's way. I'm going to return to my home planet Chibra and start training like hell. I have a lot of catching up to do. Your dad's really raised the bar when it comes to how powerful one can get. I doubt I'll get there, but I'll damn sure try. Maybe I'll visit you guys someday on Ernest or whatever planet you said you're from. Earth. Both boys said in unison, correcting him. That's the one. Sayoda snickered. Goten, Trunks, thank you for freeing me. Truly. I never thought two kids were the ones to get me out of there, but you guys aren't ordinary kids. You're both exceptional young men. I'll see you again someday, so long. He turned his back and began to head back inside the compound. Right as he got inside, Vital came storming down the boarding ramp. What are you guys doing? She asked. We need to leave now. We were saying goodbye. Goten answered as Vital looked around. To who? Never mind, let's just get out of here already. The boys didn't feel like protesting and followed her up the boarding ramp. By now the ship was fully loaded and ready to depart. Krillin began to start the ship and prepared to activate the thrusters. He looked over to Bulma and Chi-Chi. So, what's the plan again? We wait for the guys by the opening Goku created. Bulma started. Leave the hatch open so they can get in, then we get the hell out of this dump. Works for me, Krillin said as he started to commence takeoff. I just hope Mr. Snow doesn't try to get in instead of them. Please, like he'd fit. Chi-Chi huffed. Vegeta was growing impatient. Where is that weakling? He said he'd distract Snow, and he hasn't returned yet. Give him time, Vegeta. Goku replied. Gohan had joined his father and Vegeta and waited by the throne room out of Snow's sight, masking their ki while they waited for Sayoda to return to provide a distraction. Snow had flown into a worse rampage out of frustration watching his opponents seemingly disappear from his sight. His rage grew, smashing away at his once pristine arena. His behavior was reminiscent of Saiyan great apes during a full moon. The group considered transforming to Super Saiyan and the various levels of the transformation they had mastered, but they were still recovering from the effects of their ki being drained all day. They weren't sure how long their transformations would last or how effective they'd be. However, with enough charging they knew they were capable of charging up at least one of their signature powerful attacks at base form. Even without going Super Saiyan, they had enough energy between the three of them to send Snow flying. The three looked up, hearing a crash in the sky. Lighting flashed in the atmosphere. The sky was still dark, but there was a red hue to it now. Sayoda was right, the machines all being offline was causing something to happen with the black holes surrounding the planet. Gah. We're running out of time. Vegeta spat out. He's got 5 minutes, if he's not back by then, I'm going in. The prince was beginning to cave in to his desire to resume combat to the unease of Goku and Gohan. Before he could even think about rushing in, the noise in the arena stopped. The three looked at each other and crept out to see what was going on. Sayoda had returned and was staring down Mr. Snow. Sayoda was standing on what looked like a modified version of a Saiyan spacepod and holding something. The spacecraft looked more modern and had the Ampheta organization logo on the front. Perhaps these pods were for escape from the planet in emergencies. Sayoda looked over and saw 3 heads peeking out. He nodded at them, as if to give them a signal. He's back. Gohan whispered to the 2 Saiyans. Let's get into our positions. It's about damn time. Vegeta muttered under his breath. We gotta charge up as much as we can. Goku added. I know it's hard to draw up power after being drained all day, but we need every scrap of energy we can get. It's going to take a lot to shoot this guy into a black hole. Sayoda held the object up defiantly as he continued to stare Mr. Snow down. Ah, what's the matter? Don't want to destroy me when I have your Ampheta championship belt. You give that back, Snow commanded. Right now, you didn't win that. I never lost it either, Sayoda retorted, looking at the belt. Remember what happened? You stripped me of this after you imprisoned me and handed it to old Angel Dust Karina. Snow began to growl at Sayoda. And don't you think it's a little small for you now? Sayoda taunted. Snow gritted his teeth in rage. He began to stomp his feet, causing the entire arena to shake. Give it back to me now, now, Snow screamed. Sayoda was unfazed as rubble and pieces of the lighting display fell from the ceiling. He held the leather straps of the belt up and looked at the golden Ampheta logo on the front. Part of me thinks even if I wasn't holding your little belt hostage, you couldn't bring yourself to kill me. You still are a fan of me even now. You kept me as a prisoner for years when you could have just had me dissolved. I remember when you were just a kid attending my matches. You followed me for my entire career until you stole Daddy's money and waved it in my face to get me to fight for you. Snow grew silent again. That was my fault thinking you grew up. Sayoda continued. You never grew up. You're still the same spoiled brat I met years ago. Matter of fact, you got worse. You became a victim of your own self-indulgence and ego. You thought you could steal the hard work of others gained through their own training and take it for yourself, along with anything else you felt entitled to. Well, guess what, Anton? You will never be a warrior. I'll gladly tell you what I told you the day you threw me in your prison. You're a self-serving clown and you can't run any organization or anything else. Everything you touches fails. Delusional, spoiled, entitled clowns like you have no business having any power. I'm out of here. You won't be able to stop me this time. This time I'm leaving for good. Sayoda held up the belt with both arms. This is what I think of the Ampheta organization since you took the helm. He began to tear the belt in two and crumple it with his strength returning. Snow began to tremble in rage. Sayoda looked up above him, seeing giant monitors still hanging above in the lighting grid designed to give fans in faraway seats a view of the action, even though there never were fans in this arena. It was just another display of Snow's excess. Powering up momentarily, Sayoda launched 4 red key blasts at the television screen with one hand. With the other he sent 2 blue orbs into Snow's glowing green eyes, blinding him. That was his last bit of energy and now his Saiyan allies had to do their part once this was through. The giant monitor was about the size as Snow's transformed head and it quickly came crashing down, slamming into the back of Snow's head. He cried out in pain, giving Sayoda a chance to escape. He blew Snow a mocking kiss goodbye and sealed the door on his pod, blasting out the opening of the arena Snow had created earlier. While all of this was happening, Gohan had been standing beneath Snow, drawing as much ki as he could. This is it, get ready, he yelled up to Goku and Vegeta. Gohan's aura began to grow more intense. Sparks began to crackle around him. He lifted his arms and put his hands together. Masenko, ha. Snow heard the sound of sparks and looked down, his vision still obscured. But even with his vision damaged, he could still see a glow beneath him and soon a blast equal to his new gigantic size crashing towards him. What? He cried. This can't be. Where did this come from? Snow attempted to block the blast, but he had no training on how to do so. He was clueless on how to stop it. With his arms and legs stretched out he began to ascend towards the ceiling. On the upper level of the arena, Goku and Vegeta had been crouched down in their respective stances, charging their attacks. With Goku and his aura glowing bright, Vegeta adjusted his stance. He could see Snow flying up from his position. Now, this is our only chance. I hope this works, Goku strained. Ka, me, ha, me. Gaelic. Goku began the final charge for his attack and Vegeta followed suit as their auras began to illuminate the upper arena. Gun. Ha. Goku and Vegeta both fired their attacks as Snow flew up. Countless battles together allowed for them to time their attacks perfectly. Their beams joined Gohan's and the velocity all 3 beams increased. Snow was now flying out of the arena, destroying the roof completely. The 3 could hear Snow's screeches as he flew through the blackness of space before he faded out. They could no longer hear his desperate cries of pain, but they saw their 3 blasts get sucked into a portal far in the distance. The light bending in unnatural directions. All right. Goku shouted. We got him. No time to celebrate. Vegeta cut in. Those black holes around us are going to swallow the whole planet next. Where's that damned ship? Gohan looked up and to his relief, saw the familiar Capsule Corp ship hovering above the torn-off ceiling of the arena. There's our ride, he said to the other 2. Vegeta and Goku spared no time in blasting towards it. Goku looked back and saw flecks of his aura start to get pulled out into the black sky. The time needed to escape was growing extremely limited. Gohan wasn't far behind them. He looked at the arena and saw pieces of rubble and seats flying behind him. I hope those hyper thrusters still work, Gohan thought. The 3 finally reached the open boarding platform and climbed inside. I don't know what happens when you get sucked into that thing and I don't want to find out, Vegeta yelled at Krillin. Get us out of here. Krillin started to sweat. He looked out the window and saw the entire arena was now being pulled out into the shadowy abyss surrounding the planet. I hope this works. If not, it was nice knowing you all. We had a good run. Just do it already. Vegeta commanded as Krillin nervously entered commands into the terminal. He activated the hyper thrusters Dr. Briefs had installed for deep space travel, and the spacecraft started to pull away from the planet. Goten and Trunks looked out and watched as the moon-like surface began to crumble and get sucked into the black void. The red emergency lights came on inside the ship and Krillin's heart began to race. Guys? I don't think we got enough power. We're gonna get pulled in. Gohan stood up. I got a little energy left, let me take care of this. Gohan, you'll fall out. Vidal cried as he headed to the ship's exit. Gohan opened the passage leading out and looked down. The planet was being pulled apart, but a large chunk of it was still intact, for now. Perfect. He thought. He held up his arms again and put his hands together for one final attack. Masenko. Ha! He cried, launching the last of his energy into the last piece of the planet. Hopefully this would serve as a third push the ship needed. Gohan shut the exit as the ship began to fly faster out of the grasp of the black hole. Krillin looked and saw they were regaining momentum and applied 100% power to the ship's propulsion. This was more than enough to shoot the ship farther away from the gaping maw of the Nile cluster. Once they were at a safe distance, he began to power down to put a bit of ease on the ship. The bald fighter slumped into his seat, staring up at the ceiling and finally feeling much needed peace. I am never going to go on any space missions again, just so you guys know. I got enough stress as it is on Earth, I don't need more out here. She grabbed her bags of clothes and began to head back inside the Capsule Corporation building. I think I'm ready to call it a day. I'm going to need lots of rest, seeing as Vegeta and I are going to have a big shopping trip tomorrow. See you all again soon. Vegeta glared at Goku one last time before following his wife into the main entrance. Bulma turned around, called Trunks over, and he soon followed his parents to inside their home. Gohan looked up as late afternoon began to fade into the orange glow of a sunset. Yeah, it's gonna be late for us soon. See ya, Dad. He began to hover upwards and Vidal joined him. He waved at his father as Goku waved back. Soon Gohan and Vidal began to fly back home. Goku looked out to the sky. Flying Nimbus. He called out. Soon the orange cloud hovered beside him. He took Chi-Chi's hand and helped her onto the cloud. We better be getting home too, what a day, and with that, Goku climbed onto the cloud next to his wife. Wait, Goten cried. Is there room for me? Of course there is, Goten, Goku said with a smile as he scooted over and made room for his young son. The three soon took off and headed back to Mount Bazoo, finally reunited. All the enemies they had faced learned a hard lesson that day, and that was that no foe had the strength to tear this family apart. The end. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.